Welcome to the Cloverdale City Council meeting 4/22/26. I'm going to do a quick call to order. And let's do join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, quick roll call. I'm seeing all council members minus Councilmember Lasky for the record. Any conflict of interest declarations?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one. F3. I am going to be recusing myself. That company was a donor to my campaign for county supervisor.
Thank you. Any other? Seeing none. All right, agenda review, changes or deletions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to move items D1 and D2 up to the next item and then to be followed by public comment. Those are the presentations and the recognitions. Also for F2, we'd like to move that to a future agenda item. We want to make sure that we have Sonoma Water here to be able to speak on the topic as well as EKI. We want to provide a little more information so you guys can make a good decision on that. So we're requesting that F2 be moved to a future agenda item.
Yes, sounds good. All right, let's move into, we're going to go D1 first, proclamation for Autism Acceptance Month. Recipients are Nicole Lavelle. Nicole?
Okay. I'll read the proclamation. Okay. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale recognizing April 2026 as Autism Acceptance Month in Cloverdale. Whereas April is recognized nationally and internationally as Autism Acceptance Month, and April 2nd is designated by the United Nations as World Autism Awareness Day. And whereas Autism Acceptance Month celebrates and honors the experiences and identities of autistic individuals. It emphasizes understanding, inclusion, and support, moving beyond awareness towards meaningful acceptance. Whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, affects individuals across all communities, including Cloverdale, with each person experiencing autism in unique ways and contributing diverse perspectives, talents, and strengths to the community. And whereas the City of Cloverdale celebrates the contributions of individuals with autism and the role they play in strengthening the community. And whereas families, caregivers, and support networks in Cloverdale play a vital role in supporting individuals with autism. And the city acknowledges their ongoing commitment and resilience. And whereas school, service providers, and community organizations in Cloverdale and Sonoma County provide important support, resources, and opportunities for individuals with autism. And whereas promoting acceptance and inclusion within Cloverdale helps reduce stigma and encourages environments where all residents are treated with dignity and respect. Now, therefore, be proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Cloverdale hereby proclaims April 2026 as Autism Acceptance Month in Cloverdale, encourages all residents to promote understanding, inclusion, and respect for individuals with autism and their families within the community. Dated April 22nd, 2026. So ordered. Mayor Brian Wheeler.
They're over here. Jeremy and Nicole are right here.
Community members, families.
Jeremy, can you push the button on that microphone so the light turns green? Just push it once and it should turn green. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Oh, there we go. All right. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, families, communities, everyone. On behalf of myself, my students, my colleagues, Cloverdale Unified School District, and Cloverdale in general, we appreciate and really love the attention that you guys have put towards disabilities. A couple years ago, you guys recognized July as Disability Awareness Month, and now we're expanding that and looking more towards, specific disabilities and looking at Autism Awareness Month. I think it's great that we appreciate everything that every community member has to offer to our society. And I just, really appreciate everybody's awareness of everything. And I think that how the proclamation was written up was extremely well. And just on behalf of everyone, I would like to thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate all the work you do in the community. Just want to emphasize that. Appreciate it.
You guys do an incredible job at the school district. For years, we've done different projects and different things with you guys, and the inclusion and the confidence that you give to all of the kids there, it's amazing. So I know it's not an easy job, but it's a fulfilling job. So thank you guys for everything.
Jeremy, thank you so much, and thank you for coming down and accepting this. Greatly appreciated. And I come from, I have a lot of special needs, special education teachers in my family, and I see the dedication they put in, and I know you guys are doing the same. So thank you for Cloverdale. Thank you for the community. It's really appreciated.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, Jeremy, you mind a photo?
Yeah, we usually do. We'll get you guys mine. All right, if we get the proclamation in the middle. We could have, we might have to be kind of more in the middle, just so the proclamation can be there. All right, I'm gonna do a couple. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Down for Instagram. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Coming again? You guys just keep that. We'll coordinate with other.
Put your stuff on the ground?
Yeah, dude.
Crazy.
All right, D2 proclamation, Administrative Professionals Month, and our recipient is Taylor Hernandez.
A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale recognizing April 19 to 25, 2026 as Administrative Professionals Week and April 22, 2026 as Administrative Professionals Day in Cloverdale. Whereas Administrative Professionals Week is observed annually during the last full week of April, with the Administrative Professionals Day recognized on the Wednesday of that week, to honor the contributions of administrative professionals in workplaces across the nation. And whereas administrative professionals in Cloverdale serve a vital role in supporting the daily operations of business, government, schools, and community organizations. And whereas administrative professionals provide essential expertise in communication, organization, coordination, customer service, and the use of office technologies that support efficient and effective operations. And whereas administrative professionals within the city of Cloverdale and throughout the community, including those serving the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce, play a key role in supporting operations and services, and are often the first point of contact for residents, businesses, and visitors seeking assistance. And whereas the professionalism, knowledge, and dedication of administrative professionals contribute to the quality of service provided to the Cloverdale community, and now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Cloverdale hereby recognizes April 19 to 25, 2026 as Administrative Professionals Week and April 22, 2026 as Administrative Professionals Day in Cloverdale, and expresses appreciation for the valuable contributions of administrative professionals to the community. Dated April 22, 2026, so ordered by Mayor Brian Wheeler.
Thank you. I feel very honored to be accepting this proclamation. And I just want to say I appreciate everything that council does and everyone that works behind the scenes here in Cloverdale. And thank you for continuously putting in hard work for our community.
I second that, but I also wanted to thank you, Taylor, for what you bring to the chamber. Since you started working there in January of 2025, you are truly the glue, the connective tissue that holds the place together. Your amazing ability with social media, with customer service, it doesn't go unnoticed, obviously. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you, council, city council, city department heads, and all y'all.
Thank you. Any comments?
I just want to thank you, Nina, and thank you, Taylor. You've been a great addition to the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Taylor, for helping to support the chamber and being a huge part of Cloverdale.
Thank you.
I see you're a little bit like your father, that you pretend to be microphone and camera shy, and then all of a sudden you just step right up and take charge. Yeah, good smoke show. But hey, you know what? You do a killer job for us, and we really appreciate you. And with all the different things we've done over the past year, you've been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Taylor, thank you very much. And I mean, everybody at the chamber, you guys do an outstanding job, and you jumped right in, didn't even skip a beat, and just took off running. So good job, Taylor. We really appreciate what you do, and I know everybody in town appreciates all the stuff you can get out. So thank you very much.
Your wonderful smile, your baking, everything. It's wonderful.
Photo time now. Now we're going to move into item B1, verbal comments. Any person wishing to speak on an item not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. 3 minutes are allotted to each speaker. Public comments. Please state your name.
Yep, my name is Jason Tarmino. I'm your PG&E Government Affairs representative. And I came here tonight for several reasons. One, just to introduce myself. Every time I come to the dais, I kind of think of a Norman Rockwell painting, so it's kind of fun to be part of the democracy. I'm here to support you if you have questions. You don't have to have a Rolodex at PG&E. You just call me and I'll find the right person for you to talk to. I'm a good person to talk to about the Potter Valley project, which I know is a concern for Cloverdale and the rest of Sonoma County. And then I want to talk about the Wildfire Fund, which is a state initiative. So the California Earthquake Authority just came out with their report. I know that for most of us in Sonoma County, wildfire is a real issue. This report has gone a long way to outline all of the various issues that we face. And there's going to be, I have a real ask. One is if you would email me that you support the idea of a better insurance system in California, that would be great. We want to send the message to our state elected officials that everybody is concerned about this issue. At some point in the future, when there's actually a real bill with real language, you'll get an email back from me or from my group saying, do you want to support this or not? If you don't reply, we don't put you on the list. But we're trying to garner a lot of support to say to our elected officials, this is a concern for everybody. At the end of the day, in the last 10 years, certainly, wildfires around the world have wiped out neighborhoods and affected people in a way that they didn't 40, 50 years ago. And we need to evolve our systems. And so PG&E, as an entity that cares deeply, but has also been the source of many fires, wants a whole society solution to this big challenge that we face today. So thank you very much and have a great evening.
This is Susan Nurse, Pine Mountain Road, Cloverdale. Good evening, everybody. I attend this evening as a voice to support the ongoing Esmeralda development. From the knowledge I have gained through public presentations from the development team, this could be the best thing to happen in our town for 25 years that I have lived here. I remain optimistic that we can reap many benefits from this development. Economic benefit from property taxes and TOT to support our city infrastructure, services, roads, schools, additional business opportunities for our existing businesses, as well as attracting new ones, additional jobs, quality of life in terms of parks, open space, river access, and of course the much needed additional housing at all levels as we work through the general plan of growth to 12,000 population. As for the negatives, some will certainly arise. City requirements are rigorous, and we can all monitor the development milestones and timelines as per these requirements. There will be obstacles, as with any development, large or small. Public input will be sought and examined. For myself, so far, the benefits I see are greater than the drawbacks. Jobs, more housing, more financial stability for our city, and more customers for our existing businesses, as well as attracting new businesses. What's not to like? I personally remain optimistic about the future of Esmeralda, and I urge Cloverdalians to stay involved in the challenges while also embracing the opportunity to welcome our benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Excuse me. We do not be disrespectful to people in here. Okay? They won't be disrespectful to you. You don't do it to them.
Clap the comment, I boo the comment. Did Eric Trevi write your speech? He wrote for the city. That's all that. You'll get your PRA tomorrow.
Angela, could we not disrupt? We need to have this meeting go good.
Be fair.
We are being fair.
Be fair.
I am. And we're trying to conduct a public meeting here. Please be respectful, everybody, of this. Be kind to people. People have things to say. We are going to be fair up here. I don't want to have to issue out warnings and go that route. Just let people say their piece. We're giving 3 minutes to each person. Thank you.
Well, you know, I say my piece and I get retaliated on in the city supports that. So here we are.
Angela, I'm going to give you your first warning on this.
How many do I get? 3?
First warning, directly address the individual, which is you. you're out of order. Please stop your disruption so the meeting may continue. And it says, note that continued disruption may result in removal. And we don't want to do that. We want everybody to be here, but please, can we just let people say their comments? Thank you.
Woo, okay. Hello, council members, department heads, city staff, and interested citizens. My name is Nina Hanchet, and I live in the city of Cloverdale. First of all, let me state that I am speaking on behalf of myself as a 25-year-old Cloverdale resident, sorry, not 25-year-old, 25-year Cloverdale resident. My comment concerns the Esmeralda project proposed for the former Alexander Valley Resort property southeast of downtown Cloverdale. From my vantage point, I think it's still very early in the approval processes for this project. I will also comment that I've never witnessed a developer reaching out into the committee, into the community for comments, recommendations, or the like in all the time I've lived and worked here. I've attended several town halls and informational meetings presented by the developers and by the city council asking for input, the developers asking for input and sharing comment and features of what possibly is being proposed. It's still very early days, and the scope could change, and I'm very interested in what the development and the features entail. So while I remain a proponent of what I've heard and seen so far from this developer, I want to see the project as it is unveiled and examined by all the experts tasked with ensuring its viability. I'm not a soils or a water expert, so I'll rely on the findings of those agencies and experts who are. I am also hopeful that our community will let the information come forth in a way that allows interested residents and businesses the chance to know about this development and learn. And should you support it, be able to do that without fear of reprisal or animosity. It's just too important to squander this opportunity. It may not come away again. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Any other public comment? Oh, can we get a microphone up to Jennifer, please?
Me? The hold. Would you mind? I have Parkinson's, so it's. If I can just say, like, off the clock, I want to say thank you to you guys. This is Parkinson's Awareness Month. I've had this disease for 12 years, and I just appreciate you doing this for me. Thank you. Okay. So my name is Jennifer Sullivan. I'm a Cloverdale resident. This letter is for the residents of Cloverdale who support Esmeralda, are neutral, or are on the fence about it. I've been asked, would I oppose Esmeralda even if they do a new EIR? Yes, I would. As lead agency, you can stop the legally precarious addendum path right now. It should only come to the council as an EIR. Coming before the council as an addendum should never happen because the risk is real that it will pass in that form. I've been unable to find an EIR that the city has required since 2009. That was the Alexander Valley Resort. The property is still contaminated. The two final case closure notices from the Regional Water Board state the following. The first quote Esmeralda cites repeatedly on their fact page. Case closure is proposed as the site has been fully assessed and remediated to the extent practicable, and the current site conditions pose little risk to human health or environment. But they don't mention this one. Note that case closure does not necessarily mean all contamination has been remediated. The proposed Esmeralda property is contaminated with pentachlorophenol. It's in the soil. Contaminated soil under the railroad tracks was never removed, and it's in the groundwater. Pentachlorophenol is a broad-spectrum biocide. Banned in over 150 countries, it was widely used as a wood preservative but has largely been phased out due to its high toxicity and environmental persistence. Imagine pouring molasses or maple syrup onto a gravel dirt driveway and try to clean it up. It sticks to everything. It's heavy and it sinks deep into the ground. The site was a managed Superfund site by the state and never should have been rezoned mixed-use residential in the first place until the site could actually be proven safe for residential development. There are deed restrictions and a land use covenant on the property. Esmeralda is not even allowed to drill a well because the Regional Water Board is concerned it could mobilize the pentachlorophenol plume currently in the groundwater. What is most disturbing is Esmeralda's specific planning documents they presented to the Airport Land Use Commission. Not only are they writing Esmeralda only rules that will supersede Cloverdale's, but the way these plans are written, a future Esmeralda buyer may not naturally understand from the parcel map alone, where contamination-related restrictions attach, unless the covenant overlays maps, title reports, subdivision conditions, and sales disclosures are all extremely explicit. I've just got one paragraph left. The SB2 zoning text says compliant phased applications shall be approved by the planning director, and no public notice or appeal is provided for phased development review. If the big land use and contamination framework is locked in now, later parcel by parcel or phase by phase implementation could become much less visible to the public. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, do we have more public comment?
City Council, thank you. And by the way, I wrote this myself. I'm Rob Kozlowski, a resident of Cloverdale. And since item F2 was removed, this is now my public comment. It's related to the EKI study and transparency. First of all, on transparency and vetting of policy ideas with associated spending during subcommittee meetings, that's a positive process for City Council. So I'd like to see these sessions restarted so at times residents could participate before these things get brought to the City Council before the full City Council. Second, I asked the question in an email to the city about why is the EK1 study necessary in the first place, and how does it affect our water rates, since you're looking to raise them again? What are the new deliverables for the $50,000 spent on a consultant, which was raised to $70,000 and then $77,000? Why does it cost an extra $7,000 for an in-person presentation to be given to city residents? Why doesn't the city of Cloverdale also learn from the city of Ukiah's costly lessons of introducing purple piped or recycled water? Also, the funding is open-ended and tied to a time and expense scope of work. Consequently, such a study could escalate into the 6 figures range, and such a number could be used to pave more streets in the city of Cloverdale. Further, if the city is providing the consultant with all of the requisite data, why is this external party needed to review the city figures and determine our water situation? It just doesn't make sense. And apparently it didn't make financial sense for the city of Ukiah. I implore you to have a co-presentation if you move forward on that kind of study with EK1. I would say let's not go down the same path where economics and practicality take a backseat to virtue signaling. Thank you very much.
Angela Cordova. So I have a couple different things. When is Eric Terreri's purchase involvement going to be on the agenda? Why doesn't the city attorney write up the purchase agreements or any of those types of things? Why would we pay somebody $33,000 commission who sits on the chamber, which is a direct conflict in many people's eyes, may not be policy, but it is conflict. But why do we have a city attorney who can't even perform that simple task when other cities do that? You sit here and say that people have the right to speak and say what they want to say, whether it's in opposition or it's for it. No, that's not true. I was personally retaliated against, and each and every one of you know about that, because I spoke in opposition. And only when I spoke publicly on Facebook about it did I get personally attacked, which there is a criminal investigation on that matter right now, which I'm sure you're probably aware of by now. So don't sit here and say that everybody in this room is safe to say what they want, because there's many people that won't even come to these meetings and say a damn word because they are afraid of retaliation. That is pathetic, that Esmeralda would bring fear to our community, to people that have a voice that should matter. And you don't even look at that. You don't even acknowledge that. You don't even listen. But yet you have a piece of shit like Eric Terreri dictating what goes on the City of Cloverdale page, verbatim, what he sent in on public comment. You got this guy typing away. So what? Does Eric Terreri run the council? Does Eric Terreri run the city manager, the city attorney? Is that what he does? And Ron Pavelka, Eric Terreri, Ron Pavelka's his puppet master. You don't think he got part of that commission? You think I stand here and I'm stupid? I'm not. And it's not okay. And as far as Esmeralda goes, you have all these people coming out of the woodworks, people that don't even come to these meetings to speak, to even just sit because they're afraid to speak. Listen to your constituents. Just listen to them. Esmeralda might be better for our community if it was changed, if it wasn't the actual people that are involved, and you get people that aren't here to try to act like a little cult. Because that's exactly what they are. Every person in this room researched it. Every single person saw the same damn thing at the end of the day. How many heads are in here? Not one. Every single person saw that at the end of the day, their objective is to create their own city within our city and then their own government, which excludes all of you. And how can we be confident in city attorneys, city managers, city council, when you couldn't even, not you personally, but our city couldn't even read the fine print on the stupid apartments that we have? It's supposed to be low income for everybody, but it's not. Because why? Our city failed to read the fine print.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is John Spiker. I have a house on School Street. I'm here to support the Village Project and the EDGE group that wants to build it. I imagine that most of the council's time has been spent on regulatory details, and today I want to tell you at least what I see as the big long-term goal and advantage of the village.
Hey, John, could you speak into the mic a little closer, please? Thank you.
How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
First of all, I've spent 2 months with the EDGE group. They have these events in Healdsburg. I spent 2 full months with them. Virtually every EDGE person I have met is honest, intelligent, capable, loving, and most importantly, they have a real desire to make the life of everyone better. The whole objective of EDGE is to promote community connection and improve the world through out-of-the-box thinking. It is a testament to the EDGE group's dedication that they annually travel to Healdsburg for 1 to 4 weeks to work together toward this goal. For some of them, it's an easy financial thing, but many come on a shoestring budget. They volunteer their time. In return for a ticket, they sleep in their vans. They sleep on people's couches. EDGE people are dedicated and resourceful. Many have entrepreneurial aspirations. I expect many small businesses to come out of a village if it's built, and they will provide local jobs. I also think there's a good possibility that something really big could come from this group. I don't know what it'll be, maybe the next cure for some version of cancer, but if there's any group that can do it, from my experience, this group has got as good a chance as any. Young people young people like the Edge people are the future of our lives, our communities. If we are to prosper, we need to foster innovation and build supportive communities. Building the village will be a step in that direction. Let us not stand in their way. All they are asking to do is build some houses close enough together that they can walk or ride their bicycles to their friend's house where they will work or play or dream or invent. Raise their children in a place where everybody knows the kids, supports the kids, and they know each other, and walk from their front door into a nature preserve which anyone here can visit and eventually grow old together. In my 70 years of life, I have not met a group of people I'd rather live nearby. Help them build the village. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Good evening. My name is Tasha Hart, and I live here in Cloverdale. I wanted to read something that I had written on Facebook, and I added a little bit more here. The opposition to Esmeralda isn't just the necessity of an EIR. Please really look at Cloverdale and then drive to Healdsburg and look at Mill Street, the main drag through town, then mosey on over to Grove Street. It's becoming unrecognizable to what it was 20 years ago, and more so to what it was 40 years ago. What was the charm of Healdsburg? Small, quaint, beautiful, people you knew and waved to. Now what is it? A combustion of noise, traffic, and annoyance. What their EIR failed to address and recognize. People who have lived there all their lives admire Cloverdale because it was what Healdsburg was 30 years ago. We can preserve our little town. We can also help our town grow in a gentler way rather than stomping on it with 600 slapped together unbecoming units. There has to be a better way, and there is if we work together to create it. Note my opposition. Don't bank on the fact that this won't follow your legacy as city council members and the reputation that you hold. And trust me, I will be there to remind you who allowed this invasion every time I see you on the street. There has to be another developer suitable for our community, not some weirdo cult. Thank you.
Any more public comment? Okay, I'm seeing none. We'll go ahead and close public comment, and we will move into student liaison report.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Valeria Anguiano. I am your student liaison. I'll be starting off with academic planning and student pathway. Cloverdale scholarship list offered on Google Classroom. The list is organized on an Excel sheet and includes local and regional scholarship opportunities. New scholarships will continue to be added throughout the remainder of the semester. The progress report ended on Friday. Teachers will have Wednesday by noon to end grades. You will be able to see your students' grades on Thursday. Cloverdale High School events. Join scholarship advisor Becca Liepman for 3 workshops that teach students and parents how to find, apply, and manage scholarships. Sessions will be held April 16 and 23rd from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. at the Cloverdale Library. This program will cover strategies for finding and applying for scholarships, tips for writing strong applications, guidance on navigating the scholarship process, family and community engagement. Parents and caregivers are invited to boost their capacity to support youth mental health in a series of free bilingual virtual workshops hosted by Sonoma County Office of Education and community partners. School climate and student life. Senior trip confirmed to Santa Cruz Thursday the 23rd. Community service hours all due by May 8th. Portfolio night May 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. Spring sports, Wednesday, the 4/22, track senior night. So far, spring sports doing well. Cloverdale High School sophomore pitcher Cameron Bird retired all 15 of all Lower Lake batters she faced Thursday afternoon as Eagles beat Trojans 14-0 in the North Central League. Thank you.
Any comments from the council?
Thank you, Valeria, for putting together the report.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Once again, a great report and very well laid out. Appreciated. All right. Cloverdale Healthcare presentation, just Healthcare District ambulance presentation. Mr. Eric Poland, please.
Wait for my presentation to come up there. All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, community members. My name is Eric Poland, the CEO of Cloverdale Healthcare District, or Cloverdale Ambulance. I was asked to come here today, do a presentation overall, give an overview of the ambulance service that's provided to the citizens of Cloverdale as well as the surrounding community. Things I'm going to go over today is the response area and annual call volume, fleet and equipment, our annual budget and revenue resources, what I call the anatomy of a 911 call, and also discuss some of our partners. And we'll have a question and answer at the end. Next slide. And next slide. So who are we? So Cloverdale, the Cloverdale Healthcare District was originally formed in 1958. Unfortunately, in 1962, there was a failed bond measure, so the hospital district to create a hospital in the community of Cloverdale failed. After that, there wasn't much of a mission left for the Cloverdale Healthcare District itself. The Volunteer Ambulance Company, which was established in 1952, was created and then run by the, I believe, veterans at that time. And then the first ambulance was bought for the Cloverdale Healthcare District in 1977. And the Cloverdale Healthcare District oversaw and began oversight basically in running the local ambulance company. There are 5 elected board members to a special district, which is our governance. We hired our first paramedic, which was Tom. Many of you know him. He's been in the community for a long time. Tom was actually one of the very first paramedics in Sonoma County. So they were very lucky to get him when they did. He is still around, although he did retire a few years ago. I assumed his role basically 2.5 years ago when he retired. I myself have been in the community and running calls, working not only as a paramedic and then operations manager, and then taking the CEO role from him, basically for over 15 years now. I'm also a Cloverdale resident. So we used to be pretty much an all-volunteer agency. We had 2 paramedics that were running calls most of the time. They were coming up, they were being paid a stipend type pay, and then the individuals who were responding in the ambulance, at that time, they were first responders and then up to EMTs, were community members. A call would come out, they would get toned, they would then respond from their homes to the station, and there usually was anywhere from a 5 to 7 minute delay until the ambulance actually got on the road responding to calls. We now have a full-time CEO/paramedic. I'm also a responder as well. We have 2 full-time paramedics, 2 full-time EMTs, 5 part-time EMTs, and 7 part-time paramedics. We're staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The ambulance responds with people from the station. There's no longer any delay and are usually en route to calls within 60 seconds to 2 minutes. Next slide, please. So our response area and annual volume. Next slide. So the district covers approximately 85 square miles. We cover even a small portion into Mendocino County to the north. We also cover a small area to the west going up towards Mountain House on up Highway 128 and south to the border of the Geyserville area. We had over 1,400 calls of service in 2025. We've been seeing at least anywhere from 8 to 10% increases almost every year. So we're constantly seeing our growth and responses increase. We have a wide range of calls. They range from minor injuries, any illness, major traumas, medical emergencies. I mean, we all know everybody calls 911 for everything. So you can imagine the calls we get, anything from a paper cut to traumatic injuries, cardiac arrests, vehicle accidents, industrial accidents, anything we respond to at all. We also provide paramedic and EMT standby services for the community events as well. Next slide. Talk about our fleet and our equipment. So our current operational fleet, we have 3 physical ambulances and a QRV, which is a quick response vehicle, which is mostly what I'm in all the time. The primary ambulance is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a second ALS ambulance, meaning a paramedic stocked ambulance with all the equipment that is available as needed. And then we have a reserve ambulance, which is mostly used for our BLS standbys or basic anything for just EMTs. And that ambulance also could be upstaffed to paramedic if needed. All of our vehicles that are on the paramedic level, all vehicles have state-of-the-art LifePak 35 cardiac monitors. They are the latest and greatest in technology. They were just released not even a year plus ago. We were one of the very first agencies in Sonoma County to get those monitors and in service. We also have video laryngoscopes, which were purchased last year. Those are used for intubations, gives us the ability to clearly see vocal cords for clearer and more appropriate and safer intubations. Crew members also participate in the EVOC program or Emergency Vehicle Operation program. They go down to the SRJC, they have a track there. They all go through a training program to operate the ambulances safely. Next slide. Annual budget and revenue sources. So we have an operational budget of basically a little under $1.3 million. Our transport revenue is roughly $1 million. It goes up and down based on call volume. We have a partial assessment, which brings in $207,000 a year roughly. IGT, which stands for Intergovernmental Transport Supplemental. That is a program, we'll talk about that in a second when we talk about the 2 different other funding sources. That assists in offsetting lower reimbursed calls. So we have a large population of individuals on Medi-Cal or partnership or non-private insurances. And unfortunately, Medicare, they are also one of the lowest reimbursing funds that we get. So these programs assist in offsetting some of the expenses that are still incurred and not reimbursed through normal billing. Our largest expense is payroll and benefits. So roughly just under $800,000 a year is basically going to salaries and benefits for our EMTs and paramedics. We talked about one of the programs is IGT, and there's a second one, which is lots of acronyms. So public providers, so PPGEMT. So public providers, ground emergency medical transport. That is a fund also that is available to public agencies to assist in reimbursement to get up to the cost of a call. An example of these, both programs are what are referred to as pay to play. We pay a significant money into accounts 4 times a year for one of them, once a year for another, and then we get that money back plus additional money back from the state or federal funding that makes up some of the difference of the money we lose on calls. Years ago, a Medi-Cal transport or partnership transport was $118. That doesn't cover anything for when you want services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So these 2 programs, which could be what's referred to as a temporary program, we don't know if they were new. So we're very careful when we do our annual budgets to not always accept to have that money, because they could tell us tomorrow that those two programs, one of the programs has ended and might not have another option for us to look at. So we're very careful when we do our annual budgets when it comes to our staffing, equipment, and so forth, to not overextend ourselves and put ourselves into a position like we were in years ago, where we're almost negative every month, which is not where we want to go back to. The funds that we receive now for these programs, we're taking advantage of that. We've been able to replace our equipment on a regular schedule. We have the cardiac monitors, new equipment for the crews, and so forth. So we have an auto loading system now, which just went in service 2 weeks ago. So if you ever see our ambulance now, not only do we have a gurney that goes up and down, we now have a gurney that loads itself into the ambulance. So it decreases the chance of injuries to our staff and employees, and also is more comfortable and safer for the crews. It locks in, it's rated at up to 800 pounds for lift, so it could do it on hills, inclines, and so forth. So that was one of our opportunities that we were able to do. Stair chairs, with also some assistance from some of the local groups, we were able to purchase stair chairs for the ambulances as well this year. We had one, we were able to get a second and a newer one. So those funds that we get from those programs have given us the ability to purchase things that we normally wouldn't be able to purchase or have to purchase them over time. Next slide, please. So now what seems to be very important to a lot of community members is what I refer to as the anatomy of a 911 call, how it starts, how it ends, and what happens in between. So key points, how do 911 calls received? So 911 calls, we all know 911, 3 digits. That's what we dial normally, that's how we get help. It can be called from a cell phone, a landline, even a phone that's disconnected but still has a dial tone that you can't dial, you can still dial out 911. We also see some calls come in on 7-digit numbers. That could be to the Sheriff's Department, it could be to Cloverdale PD, it could be directly into Redcom, it could be directly into the fire department. I get calls in the office sometimes, people asking for help. They want us to send them the ambulance, they don't call 911, they just call us direct. We always refer them back to 911, take that information, and make sure that all the appropriate resources are sent. So fire and medical calls. Once calls are received, they may be transferred to Redcom. Redcom is a regional dispatch center for fire and EMS. They then receive EMD, emergency medical dispatch pre-arrival instructions. For those of you who've called 911 and they're giving you instructions when you have chest pain, possibly taking a baby aspirin, they're unconscious, rolling them over, CPR instructions. They're the first line giving you the information you may need to assist someone who's having a medical or emergency crisis. Cloverdale Ambulance itself, we're dispatched by the Cloverdale Police Department. So when you dial 911 in the city limits, you're getting law enforcement and you're getting us dispatched out of that directly. The call is still transferred to Redcom. Redcom then dispatches the fire service. It used to be St. Helena or CAL FIRE, and now it's to Redcom, which is recent. Northern Sonoma County Fire, Cloverdale is dispatched by Redcom. Next slide. So what happens after 911 is called in the city or county area? So like I said, it goes to one of the 2 primary PSAPs usually. Well, let's say 3, I'm sorry. So it can go directly to the Cloverdale PD. It can go to the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department, or it could be routed to the CHP depending on where you are. When you dial 911, your location is usually provided to them via GPS or different location services that are provided under the 911 system. So county areas and so forth. Fire-related calls, public assist, hazardous conditions, smoke checks, even though they do come into a primary PSAP, and all primary PSAPs are always law enforcement agencies. So when you dial 911, the first person you talk to is always a law enforcement center. They call that a primary PSAP. Redcom itself is what's considered a secondary PSAP, meaning that they receive the call after someone else does and it's transferred to them. Only exception to that is if someone calls in on a 7-digit number. So all fire calls and so forth, their trends, if they're coming to Cloverdale dispatch, are transferred to Redcom for the appropriate dispatch. And they also do a fire dispatch. Similar to EMD, they'll go through a whole group of instructions for that as well. And also what I didn't mention earlier is that During the EMD process, it dictates the response of the resources, meaning that as it's triaged via all the medical questions, it may dictate that the ambulance or fire engine or both respond with lights and sirens, or no lights and sirens, just responding routine. They screen those calls during that process. They call it priority dispatch. It goes anywhere from what they call alpha calls all the way down to echo calls. Echo and delta calls always being the most emergent. Charlie calls still with lights and sirens, and then you start getting to Bravo calls where they start triaging it down to one unit may go code 3, another unit goes with no lights and sirens. And the reason why they do that is to, number one, decrease the potential of an unnecessary accident or something of someone responding through with no real reason to be responding with lights and sirens. All right. Law enforcement may be dispatched automatically or by request of another agency. So even though a law enforcement receives the call in the primary or in their primary piece, that doesn't necessarily mean that an officer responds. And we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. Next slide. So what happens when an ambulance or fire department is on a call and other calls come in? So we currently staff one ambulance here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have what's called automatic aid or mutual aid. And what happens is that if our ambulance is unavailable, the QRV is dispatched to provide paramedic services. So there's always a paramedic that's en route to a call. And then after that, a mutual aid ambulance is requested, usually from Redcom. That ambulance most of the time comes from Healdsburg, could come from Windsor. There's 3 additional ambulances that are staffed, so 2 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Healdsburg and Windsor. They have a 3rd unit that comes on that's 7 days a week that operates from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then if for some reason none of those resources are available, we'll get a unit from the Santa Rosa area where they have anywhere up to 16, 17 units staffed per day, depending on the time of day. As far as for the fire service, they also staff a single resource every day, but have the ability now that they have multiple crew members to be able to split that resource into 2. So they may have a squad with 1 or 2 people on it that responds when the engine is unavailable on another call. CAL FIRE during certain parts of the year is available with 2 engines and available to respond as that additional resource. And then for some reason, everybody's unavailable, next closest resource is dispatched. And that could be out of Geyserville normally. So there's always going to be a resource that's responding to a call. And that's important to realize. Although there may be a slight delay in the transport ambulance, care and service is still being provided. And I, as a paramedic who responds in that vehicle, can do everything but transport. Carry all the same equipment as an ambulance, can provide all those same services initially. And if you're doing treatment on scene, you still need that 10 or 15 minutes. Nothing's instantaneous. So when you see us on scene, we're starting IVs and doing all that kind of stuff. That's all things that take time. So the transport ambulance doesn't necessarily need to be there, as long as someone else is there to be able to provide that care. So that kind of breaks down how it works when multiple calls go on. And that's been a big concern to a lot of community members, saying that we need to have, we need more ambulances. So to address that in the future, and as, the growth of Cloverdale increases, there may be an opportunity and the ability to fund that second ambulance. When we talk about our budget of being $1.3 million, and 3/4 of that is already paying for salaries, if you double that to put on additional ambulance, you're looking at a negative amount of money. So I hate looking at ambulance services as a business, but if you don't have money coming in, you don't have money to go out. And so we look at that. And at this point, we do have the occasional need for additional resources to come in, but not at the point that it says that we need to have that second ambulance here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, could that change? Could the hours change that we need a 12-hour unit or, a unit that's on from specific parts during the day? Absolutely. And that's something that we look at regularly. We look at the total number of times every month an additional resource has to come into town to run and take that transport. And then we'll look at that and see. We also get a lot of cancellations. So we get sent on one call, so it ends up being a lift assist, or no medical merit, or no necessity, and we get our ambulance back right away. So a lot of things to look at. Next slide, please. So our partners. Next slide. So EMS is a team sport. So all emergency calls require team effort. That starts at the time the call is received in a dispatch center to the time that the resources are dispatched, to the time the resources respond on scene and provide the care that's needed. We respond to all medical and non-medical responses. And in addition to all fire, Northern Sonoma County Fire, which is local fire, Cloverdale Fire Department. They respond to everything that we go to. In addition to that, they also respond to, all fire calls, hazardous calls, lift assists, anything that you call 911 that doesn't require an ambulance, they're usually coming to. Could be an animal locked in a vehicle, so forth. They respond to first responders and EMTs. We talked about it a little earlier, they have the ability to split crews for multiple calls. They carry first responder gear and AEDs. Also included in that now are EpiPens, Narcan, and aspirin. Cloverdale Police Department, all the officers are trained in CPR and first aid. They carry AEDs and Narcan, and they respond to all cardiac arrests, vehicle accident in the city, law-related events, and as support when requested. And the reason why that's important is that all agencies require help. And if other resources aren't available, the Cloverdale Police Department will respond. They'll do hands-on, they'll assist us, even though that's not their primary responsibility. They respond to those calls, and half the time we don't have to ask. They're informed of any time there's a medical aid and a call, and they have the ability to respond as needed and appropriate and as requested. Next slide. So Northern Sonoma County Fire Expanded Partnership. So the QRV program, which we mentioned, is primarily supported by Northern Sonoma County Fire. It started off as a pilot program, and it's still pretty much in that pilot phase. And during that time, there was no funding for it. The ambulance district at that time wasn't able to afford funding it. So Northern Sonoma County Fire, through funding that they had, assisted in purchasing a new QRV, which is the vehicle that I'm in now. Cloverdale PD also, we couldn't have even started this program without them, because as we were waiting for that one vehicle, they were able to give us one of their surplus vehicles. I say give, I did pay for that. $1, Parker doesn't like it. But we did end up paying that, and that gave us the boost that we needed to get the program in place and responding to calls and starting that service. That's also part of what a partnership is. They financially assist in covering the cost of the QRV right now. As we move forward, that partnership and the way it's designed, it will change. As we all contribute to the program. Cloverdale Ambulance, as we see, if we're maintaining, positive funding, we'll be able to contribute to that, and then it'll be probably a 2-3-way partnership between Northern Sonoma County Fire Geyserville, Northern Sonoma County Fire Cloverdale, and then Cloverdale Ambulance. The QRV, it's a Northern Sonoma County resource. So my district that I cover, the QRV, is everything from Geyserville all the way out to the Napa line, all the way up to the Mendocino border. I go into Mendocino as requested when there's no other ALS available. I'll go up Highway 128, also up the 101 corridor. Staff of the paramedic to ensure rapid advanced assessment and treatment. And the QRV carries, again, all of the equipment that an ambulance has. I just don't have the ability to transport. I even have backboards. Next, please. So that concludes the primary portion, and I'm happy to answer any questions and respond to anything anybody has on it.
Yes, thank you, Eric, for the presentation.
Absolutely.
I had a lot more questions before the presentation, so that was really good. Just want to thank you for your coordination.
My pleasure.
With all the first responders that getting this work done. One of the things that really points out is the quick response vehicle, that really did fill a lot of gaps, that you have a backup vehicle that can respond once one vehicle's out. And I know that was always the concern, that if somebody needs assistance and the main ambulance is out. Is there any chance, like if somebody needed to run to the hospital, that if it was just kind of maybe put him in the passenger seat and get him down?
So there's never an absolute, but legally, I can't provide care and drive and provide services. And legally, I cannot transport a patient to an emergency room who's receiving care from me. So the QRVs were never designed to fill that transport role. They are used as supplemental transports. We have areas that are off dirt roads, up in the hillsides. They are able to transport down to an ambulance and so forth in that type of scenario. But legally, them to transport to the hospital. You can't do both. And it's also not set up for that. Providing, even though I can give oxygen on scene, long-term oxygen may be an issue. If I had to lay someone down to do CPR, all those things are not able to be done inside of a vehicle that's not set up or configured that way.
Okay. Yeah, I understand it. The two things that I was, I think this was a presentation would accomplish is one, just educating the public of what our services are available here. I think, folks do move from bigger cities and just think that there's all these ambulances available. So people can better kind of prepare and understand if, what their emergency plans are. And some folks might come from a more rural area where they're like, you guys are lucky to have, these options here. You're not being just put in the back of a truck and hauled out. So if there's anything that, us as council members or the city can do to identify funds or, acquire them, please let us know.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I have two questions. The first question is, this was like 2 or 3 years ago. My neighbor called 911, and he has the area code from Boston. So when he called, he didn't get the Cloverdale dispatch. He received the CHP, and they had no idea where Cloverdale was. And he called because another neighbor was having a stroke, and we're within Cloverdale city limits. We're at Kings Valley. And so he kept trying to tell them where Cloverdale was, and the CHP just really had no clue. And our poor other neighbor was having a stroke. And, finally, somehow he got through to them where Cloverdale was. But is there a way to prevent that glitch from ever happening again?
Technology speaking, so there's a couple things we didn't touch on. So with the transition in technology, there's a lot of services that provide what's called voice over IP. They're now internet phone lines. And same thing on your cell phone. When you set up your phone for home Wi-Fi, it wants you to verify the address that you're calling 911 for. When you utilize some of those services, the GPS or location services aren't always readily available via dialing 911. Calls that are outside of geographical zones will go to specific centers. So if you're in the east side, let's say across the river, and you dial 911, it should go to the sheriff's department if you're calling from a cell phone, or if you're calling from a landline. You're calling within the city of Cloverdale, it should go to Cloverdale PD. And same thing on the 101 corridor or freeways or highways, you may get the CHP. Enhancements in that have been done over the last few years. Maybe Parker could touch on when they went to what they call enhanced 911, which gave cellular the ability to be more accurate and give geographical locations on GPS. That's an enhancement that's happened over the last few years to take care of that problem. Area code shouldn't matter. Everybody, anybody who moves anywhere that has a cell phone, most people keep their numbers, they don't want to change them because everybody has that one number. But it's technology. Would it ever be 100%? I would hope it would be. There's always enhanced systems that are coming out. And, Parker can touch on how the comm center here is, but I know that Redcom, the Sheriff's Department, CHP are all always trying to increase technology to ensure that happens less frequently. Can never say absolute. So.
My second question is, I know like some people, for whatever reason, take ambulances frequently. And, you may see them coming back 2 hours later in another ambulance. And it just seems to be, some people do this. Well, if they have, say, Medicare, who's paying for all these ambulance rides?
Billing. So first off, we don't provide when I say non-emergent, I'm going to say hospital-to-hospital transports. It's not our primary focus. We're not staffed to do that. It would take our ambulance out for hours at a time. So we don't provide that service. Insurances, I can't tell you what everything covers. Medi-Cal and Medicare are restrictive on what they do pay and what they don't pay. I don't want to cross over in those lines because I don't know exactly what the cutoffs are. I can tell you that they're always hesitant to pay non-emergent, which is the transports home, unless they have what's defined as medical necessity, which goes through a whole nother thing about, what government payers will pay and so forth. Private insurance, same thing, pre-authorization, all of those things. Those are all things that are way above what this what I can answer for you here. And also for non-emergent, there's a lot of citizens here that require transport to doctors' offices. That's not something that we do. There are services out there. And if they're covered, that's all, again, something you have to check with your insurance company to see what's covered and what's not. But,
Well, the particular, like, I'm not going to name names or anything,
Yeah,
but
that's
the
fine.
particular person I'm thinking of often takes your ambulances.
Okay, well, so if you're talking about so yes, we have a lot of individuals who utilize the ambulance as their own means of transportation for one reason or another. When you call 911, we respond, and we transport, and there are individuals who know that and take advantage of it. They don't really care if it's covered. They're not going to get a bill for it, and they'll utilize the service as they see fit. We're in a predicament. Although we evaluate and we assess, the ultimate decision to be transported after we go over all the things and give them options comes down to them.
And so we still don't really know who pays for all those ambulance rides.
So I could tell you that anything that's usually transported from a house to an emergency room, in most cases, I'm not going to use absolutes, in most cases are covered by insurance. Insurance companies who see that the individuals have no medical necessity or are constantly doing that, they can do whatever they like as a company. Medicare and Medi-Cal, a little bit different. There are laws that have gone into play about what's considered medical necessity, what determines a 911 call, what's an emergency to one person may not be an emergency to someone else. So what I consider to be emergency after being a professional or whatever, it may be different what the layperson or an individual at home thinks. So they've taken and made some rules that allow for that to happen. So I will say that with these programs we talked about, and we don't know if they'll ever go away, IGT, the PPG-EMT, that's what's making up the difference in that transport revenue. When those programs go away, we're definitely going to have to look at if there's alternatives. And although we haven't done it, there are things that can be done for individuals who are repeat patients. They're just very challenging. Because again, what they consider to be their emergency might not be mine. But
Well, thank you very much for answering my questions.
First off, thank you for your time that you put in doing this hard job. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I won't go over a lot of stuff. A lot of the questions have been answered, things that I wanted to say. So I really appreciate the response times all the way up here in Cloverdale, keeping us safe and get people stabilized as needed, because we're a long ways away from medical services. And you go in further when you start heading up to like Pine Mountain, Mountain House Road, like you talked about. As a partner with Northern Sonoma County Fire, do you have any access to grant funding, or do you guys do any partners together on any grants currently?
So we haven't partnered on grants specifically. We have applied for grants. Unfortunately, we've been unsuccessful in trying to get those grants. We, in the bigger scheme of thing, unfortunately are not a priority for most of the grants that we apply for or are eligible for. We probably could do a better job. I could do a better job at probably trying to find other grant opportunities. But it's also difficult because as we still right now are getting an influx of additional money, that has to be used and put back into the service. So it's kind of hard to ask for grant money.
Yeah.
I mean, we can use grant money for staffing probably, but then again, we get in the predicament that the grants could be anywhere from 1 year, 3 year, 5 years with no commitment of, reoccurring dollars. So then that liability would come back to the district.
Well, I appreciate you guys living within your means. As Cloverdale grows, we know you will continue to grow
Absolutely.
because you're budgeting and doing it correct. So we appreciate you.
Eric, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I'm not sure why this isn't working.
Thank you.
Hello. All right. Thank you very much. I know what you guys go through, and I know the funding out there can be chaotic. But one of my concerns is, and the reason I say this as a previous EMT, I know that it can be the things that are seen by both police officers and EMTs, paramedics, can become a real drag on and lead to burnout and mental health. some things. So I was wondering if there's anything that's ever been integrated into your budget maybe, or even Chief can answer this, of any type of counseling that could be
yeah, we
given to your
absolutely.
crew. Do you?
Yeah, and actually some law went into effect, I want to say it was 3 or 4 years ago. So before we even required to do it, we have EAP for all of our employees. They have availability to counseling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's also a critical debriefing team, which we actually utilized recently. That is available through the county. We can request them through Redcom. They'll make arrangements to have an incident debriefing on any critical incident that we request them for. We take the mental health of our personnel very serious. And, even currently we're dealing with personnel that are having crisis, and our job is to support them through that process, not only through the EAP program, but also just doing peer-to-peer support as well. So in addition to EAP, which is a service available to them, we also have, those programs.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. I just know I can see that burnout comes on quick, and then some people don't want to say anything and
absolutely.
keep going and keep going. So we appreciate what you do and your response times, and that you've got all the partnerships set up with the Southern ambulances if need be, and everything's working good. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yep.
I just want to say real quick, number one, he stole my this is a team sport thing. But we work really closely with them in the fire department. We're always talking. I talk with them at least once a week about different things going on. They're really supportive of us. They do, transports like our 5150s and stuff sometimes. And these guys, so if there's a scene where someone hurts himself or something, we go in, make sure, secure the scene, we stage them, they come in, and then take care of the prisoner or patient. And all different things that you can think about. If there's an active shooter, they stage and they come in. Now they're on rescue teams where they'll be teamed up with the fire department, one of us, and a few others where we're going in and triaging people. And so they've done that training as well. And so we support each other a lot. I support it. Eric's a great guy. His whole team is very knowledgeable. The EMD thing, it drives me nuts. I had to give the phone to my wife one time because I couldn't deal with that. But if to answer your question,
Chief, you have the next item. You can talk then too.
Yeah, I know. But I just want to say I support we work well together. We appreciate their service, and because they come and save us too.
Thank you.
Thank you. What? Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on Eric's presentation?
I have to fully disclose that I'm the perpetual secretary for the ambulance board. I just want to say that if you want to know what's going on at a particular time, you can go on the website and they'll give you an incident summary. And it's very interesting.
Cool.
So,
awesome.
And it's a great board, by the way.
And thank you, Nina, for being one of our board members and supporting us.
All right. Do we have any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. All right, thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
I'll make this quick because my voice is not never.
I think your voice is fine.
We had some members of the public come down today for the presentation on the ambulance, and I know that they had left, so I think the presentation was very well done, that it answered all the questions, that they didn't make a public comment. I want to thank Eric again.
Ready?
Ready to go, Chief, you're up.
All right. So, I've been sick the last few days, and I just came back from a conference in SAC today. So this is our annual report for 2025. I'm going to go through it real quick. It'll be on the website here pretty soon. You go to page 3. This is pretty much my message to my staff, and the people that, support us. Our mission statement for the police department, and then our value statement is on page 5. You'll notice working together for a safe community. That's on all of our cars. And that's where that comes from our value statement. I won't go through that whole thing. And our org chart just kind of shows our staff, how it's structured, and where everybody's at. And pretty basic. The statistics page, page 7, just kind of gives you a quick overview on the stats that we've had in 2025. Our calls for service at 11,357, officers' cases at 709, total arrests 266, misdemeanor arrests 205, 61 felonies, and then citations issued at 709, and 57 total accidents. Last year, we had 8 patrol officers for a period of 3 months during that year, and then 6 patrol officers for a few months as well. And so, a few slides, a few pages down, you'll see our stats for over the last 3 years. And it's important to understand that, it dips. But we keep the same service levels, even though we're short-staffed. We are fully staffed now, but which is an anomaly in Sonoma County. So our traffic-related investigations, we had 31 collision investigations, 18 hit and runs, and 8 minor accident reports. Arrest activities, 266 arrests. The major arrests were misdemeanor offenses totaling 205, which commonly include violations such as DUI, theft, drug possession, outstanding warrants, and 199 involved adults, 6 involved juveniles. Felony enforcement remained a critical component of the police efforts, and with 61 felony arrests made during the year. And then our citation activity, which is 709 citations for traffic violations and different things. We had 180 parking citations. Someone calls up, this vehicle has been there for a period of time. We'll go out there, red tag it, and then after the 3 days are up, 72 hours are up, we'll go out and cite it and then tow it. Sorry. And as far as traffic, so we do directed enforcement, which means we'll send an officer. When someone calls and complains, hey, someone's running a stop sign, they're speeding on this street, we'll assign officers to go out there to work that stop sign or the speed on that street. And then we'll do enforcement. That's what we do for directed enforcement. The department responded to 11,357 calls for service during that year. And if you go to page 10, our most frequently called service is ambulance and medical assistance. And that's dispatch taking those calls in, not necessarily we're responding to those. Traffic stops, we had 1,014. I'm just gonna tell you the main ones. On page 11, animal complaints, 136, loose animals, 98. Vacation checks, we did 87 of those. Found property, 128. Page 12, suspicious circumstances, which can range from suspicious vehicle or person, which is also listed in here. It could just be a strange circumstance that just really doesn't fit into any other category. 206 suspicious persons, someone sitting in the park. in the middle of the night. Our park closed at 10 p.m. A suspicious vehicle, whether it's occupied or unoccupied. Page 13. And that's what I talked about, directed traffic enforcement. We did that 47 times last year. One of those times was at the Washington School in response to the e-bikes and e-scooters. We put an officer on each side of the school on Washington, waited for the kids to come out, contact the kids, contacted their parents that were riding the scooters. Next day, there was none of that there. So we'll do stuff like that. Petty theft is one of our kind of a major things. We had 71 of those petty thefts. And petty theft is a crime of opportunity. It's usually somebody parks their work truck out front. They don't lock the storage containers in the back, and someone's walking by flipping door handles, and they go in there and they take some tools and things. So lock your stuff, please. Overall, the operational workload, we had 16,819 incidents recorded by our system. That also includes our community service responding to incidents. On page 16, stop data reporting. And these are just, you'll see the two graphs here. There's many more, but stop data reporting has nothing to do with, if they stop an African-American adult, has nothing to do with what their actual race is or anything. It's what the officer perceives when they first contact that individual. We don't verify anything. We don't ask them about their nationality or anything, but it's just what the officer perceives, and that's what they document after their contact with the person. '17, you'll see our supervisor staff and kind of their responsibilities. I think two of them are back here right now, Bo and John. We go to 18, there's our two new police officers, and there is a size difference, and there's a size difference in real life, just saying. Both great guys. Lloyd, which is the guy on the left, if you're looking at it from me, he just got off FTO, and you'll see him out on his own. Officer Eubank is still in FTO. He's just finishing up. And they're great additions to our staff. Again, we are fully staffed. And I go to these conferences, and, actually John was at one just today. They asked, who here is that full staff? I didn't want to raise my hand because I already knew the answer that no one else is fully staffed. So, but it's really amazing that, it was one of my goals before I retire is to become fully staffed for the next chief. When they come in, they don't have to worry about that. And we have a great group of people with our staff. If you go to page 19, which is our community outreach, we do all these events throughout the year. Hopefully they continue. One of them was National Night Out, and we do an annual rib-off competition. I'm going to have to point to the mayor. He lost that. It's probably like the third time I've mentioned it this year.
You get a shot in every week,
I'm going to say it again. You lost.
Chief, didn't he win the year before, though?
He did. You did win the year before, but that was the year before, and I'm the current champion, so.
I think there was a lot more entries when I won it, so.
So we do the downtown Halloween event, the Citrus Fair Parade. We do a booth at the Citrus Fair, the FFA barbecue event in Santa Rosa. We did that. The Winterfest, we had to meet the Grinch. We will be doing that this year again. And I think we're going to, my plan this year is to reach out to a children's center, is to go have the Grinch meet the children that are, in not in need, but they're getting medical treatment, like a burn center or something. I'd love to do something with a school with autism. the special needs kids as well for this year. We did the Healdsburg parade. We assisted them with their parade, with the FFA parade. That is coming up next month. We will be helping them out again. We did the long table, which they're no longer doing. The 4th of July parade, the Latino Heritage event, Read Across America, which when we go out to the high schools, we read Dr. Seuss books to the kids. Last year, I did a talk with the entire Washington school about the safety of e-bikes and e-scooters and the legality of those. And then I challenged, whichever grade had I call it the most or the least demerits. I would buy them a pizza party. So I bought them pizza, bought the 7th grade pizza, and they had pizza with the officers. We did a high school law enforcement career presentation where people were interested in going to law enforcement, and we kind of talked about the upcoming changes with that at the high school. The Cloverdale Car Show, I did a brass badge event last year for all the retired police chiefs in Sonoma County, which was a luncheon that SCLUCA, our Sonoma County Law Enforcement Chiefs Association, sponsored. I chaired it, and we bought lunch for those folks, had some donations for them from the National Sports Distributor. And it was fun to recognize those folks and get them back together. We had a lot of police chiefs that showed up. We had a mixer at our police department. Love to do it again. I don't know if she took off. And then the e-bike scooter event. Detective cases. So we do have one detective, which is Katie Vanoni. She is one of the hardest working employees that I've come to know. She's very tenacious and does a great job with her position as a detective. She never says no, and she's always go, go, go. She completed 106 cases last year, actively managed 28 assigned investigations spanning from violent crime, property crimes, narcotics investigations, weapon offenses, and crimes against person. She investigated 11 violent cases, including assault with a deadly weapon, criminal threats, robbery, domestic violence, child abuse, and homicide-related investigation. She prepared 17 search warrants and executed those. She did work on the Sierra Gear case, where we went out and arrested James Unick. She was instrumental in writing the search warrant and that, and with his residence. I was on the team that took him into custody. She participates in the Sonoma County Retail Theft Task Force. If you notice the band of folks that go in to a retail establishment, clean out an aisle and take off, they have a task force that deals with that in Sonoma County. They're doing a great job. She's a part of that. It's a really good group, and they've helped us out on a couple of cases with CVS. And she also participates in the regional gang intelligence meetings. Overall, Detective Vanoi 2025 caseload reflects the balance and strategic focus on both serious violent offenses and crime affecting the day-to-day quality of life in our community. Dispatch. Handled a total of 17,222 phone calls, including 1,553 emergency 911 calls and 669 business line response and day-to-day assistance. And people call for the strangest things, but they're there to. Sometimes they'll just call in the middle of the night just to talk, because people get lonely. They'll call dispatch. But they're happy to do it. They're just a great group of people. Like I said before, I couldn't do their job. It's just, and they also handle the front desk. Someone comes up to the police department. They handle those folks that come up to the police department. They'll get them to where they need to go. The department, excuse me. I have more stats for you. I'm not going to bore you with those. So last year we made a push for emergency preparedness and response training, which Kevin participated. Some of you folks participated in. We do have a scenario coming up to test those skills again and just to keep us sharp. I think it's May 12th, where we operate the EOC over at the fire department, order resources, and just practice our emergency response in coordination with all the city staff, the clerk, the department heads. A lot of the city staff participates. And we're going to look to continue that over the next year as well. Also, we participated in active shooter training with the CHP. And we always try to keep up to date with that in hopes that we never use it, but we are prepared if it does occur. And that's it. I just want to thank our community and you folks for our support. We couldn't do this without the support of the community. We all understand that, and I love doing my job. The guys behind me love doing their job. I wouldn't go into anything. I'm glad I went into this profession years ago. You get into for different reasons, right? The young guys, they're going to think they're saved the world. Not going to happen. You got to take it case by case. But you make a difference. And people let you know that you do make a difference. From the people you arrest, you see them down the road. Hey, man, you arrested me for that dope. I appreciate it. Changed my life, and you always appreciate those outcomes. That's it. That's all I got.
Chief, thank you very much. Councilmember?
You okay, Mayor?
Yeah, he's having a tough time right now. Chief, thank you guys, and thank your team for everything that you guys do. It's pretty amazing seeing the numbers. That's a lot of calls for such a small agency with great results. I know anytime I've had any issues, or anyone I know that has had any issues, it's been very prompt and very professional and respectful. So thank you to all of your amazing staff. Thank you for the great hires that you've been doing. We'll save the sappy crap for after your retirement, but thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and congratulations on your retirement. Thank you to all the officers, dispatchers, and detective as well. It was a good presentation. It's good to see all the numbers here. So, there's been some big cases that have come down. Sarah Gear case, assistance with, I think, some of the search warrants that have happened recently. So, keeping our community safe. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, and we've made an effort to be able not to have to outsource that, the specialty needs. So we can pretty much handle anything in-house that we come across. So.
And I appreciate just your presence in the community and the welcoming feeling that, certainly my wife and I have, and just want to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank you and all your officers. And one reason I really like living in Cloverdale is I feel safe here, and I think that's due to you and all your officers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I know you're going to say something.
Thanks, Chief. No, thanks for, like the council, I just want to echo these guys. Thanks for you guys being around. I mean, we go down there, there's somebody, you're always running into somebody, you guys do a great job. Maybe you upon retirement, you can maybe put on a cooking class and teach some of those other guys how to cook.
Yeah, no, because I compete against them.
Like
so.
Camara, it wouldn't hurt him. But anyway, thank you for everything that you do. It's awesome. And
Thank you.
Congrats on retirement.
Yeah, thank you.
Any comment from the public on this? Nope, seeing none. I was getting there. C3, water and wastewater rates. 3, water and wastewater rate study with Mr. Mark Hildebrand.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hildebrand, and I am a water and wastewater rate consultant out of Oakland, and I actually did the rate study for you folks last time, about 4 years ago. This is the first time meeting you because that was right smack in the middle of COVID, so nice to see everybody in person.
Welcome.
So I have a presentation. These are our preliminary findings for our water and sewer rate study. And I'll go ahead and, do I click here or does somebody else have control? Okay, great. Next slide. Thank you. So the agenda here will be to cover rate studies in general, the general process that we follow and the legal requirements that we have to follow. And then we'll look specifically at the water utility and the wastewater utility and then talk about next steps. Next slide. So the general process for rate studies is that we do the 3 steps that are shown up here. First, we cover the revenue requirements, which is also called a financial plan. We're looking at what are the costs right now, what are the revenues coming into the utilities right now, what do we think those costs are going to do over the next 10 years, how is our capital spending program looking over the next 10 years, and really just trying to develop an understanding of how much additional rate revenue we're going to need in order to be able to cover the costs that we're anticipating over the next 10 years. And that might come with a debt strategy as well. Once we understand how much rate revenue we need from our customers, then we do what's called a cost of service analysis, which is required by law, and it's also just a best practice, where we look at your different types of customers, your residential customers, your commercial customers, your irrigators, to understand how big their meters are, how much water they're using, that type of thing, just to allocate costs to them fairly based on how they're driving costs in the system. And then the final step, the rate design, is taking those, once we understand how much we're going to allocate, say, to single-family homes, then the rate design is decisions on how their bill's going to look, how much we're going to recover through their fixed charge, how much of it's going to be through variable charge, if there's going to be tiered rates, that type of thing. Next slide. So in terms of legal requirements, it's actually pretty simple. There's something that's called Proposition 218. It's part of the Constitution. There are 2 major components. There's what we call the substantive requirements, and there's the procedural requirements. The substantive requirements basically just say you can't charge more than the cost of providing service. So that means 2 things. You can't make a profit, so you can't take your water rates and charge a little extra so that you can transfer it to the general fund and pay for parks and recs or that type of thing, changing light bulbs. So all the money that you make with water rates has to stay in the water utility. So there's that part. And then it also means that you can't charge one group of customers more in the interest of trying to keep the rates down for another group of customers. So you can't do cross-subsidizations of your customers. So that's the substantive requirements of Prop 218. And then the procedural part of Prop 218 is that you have the authority, the city council has the authority to raise rates without going to voter approval, but you have to go through a public hearing process and you have to give your ratepayers an opportunity to protest against the rates. And if they come out voluntarily and protest, if 50% of your ratepayers come out and protest voluntarily against the rates, then you can't raise the rates. So you do have to go through that public hearing process, which involves sending out a letter 45 days before the public hearing. Next slide. So before we jump into it, here's a quick survey of rates around the region. It's important to note that we don't set rates based on how much other people are charging. That wouldn't comply with the law, and it doesn't make any sense. But it is an interesting data point just to sort of get a sense of where Cloverdale is relative to some of your neighbors. So you can see that the combined water and wastewater bill for Cloverdale, when you look up and down the 101 corridor, is towards the bottom of this list. And so that's obviously a good place to be. It's not, you don't necessarily want to be the lowest rates in the region. And sometimes folks who are all the way at the bottom, the reason that they're all the way at the bottom is because they're deferring capital spending. That's the one part of spending that you can keep your rates down. You can kick the can down the road. You can let your system age and not replace things as it starts to fail. And you can keep your rates down for a little bit, but eventually it's going to come back and bite you, and then you'll end up at the top because you have to do a bunch of emergency repairs. So it's nice that you guys are keeping costs under control, but it's also important to understand that being at the bottom of the list isn't always the goal. Next slide. So we'll jump into to the water enterprise here. Next slide. So first, a cross section, just a quick look at where your revenues come from. So this is your actuals for last year. You can see that almost 90% of your revenue comes from rates. That's the bill that folks pay on a monthly basis. There's some other additional revenue. There's an ad valorem tax revenue that gets transferred in from the general fund, and there are interest earnings on your reserves. Next slide. On the other side of the coin, this is your operating and debt service. So what this slide doesn't include, if you're looking at the $5 million from the previous slide and the 3.9 here, you say, oh, we're doing great. This doesn't include capital spending. So this is just your operating costs and your debt service. So this gives you a pie chart here, an idea of how your money is being spent. You can see about 40% salaries and benefits and about 20% debt service, and then some other miscellaneous costs. Next slide. So now let's talk about capital infrastructure. You'll recall that from the last time we did a rate study, we actually came to council once, proposed some rates, and there was enough public feedback that we actually went back to the drawing board and met with a stakeholder committee and talked about the capital spending program. And so because that was the large driver for the rates then, and it continues to be the drivers for the rates that we're going to be proposing now. So I'll go through a list here of projects, next slide, that the city's currently trying to deliver. So there's some capacity studies. SCADA is the system that controls, it's the electronic system that controls the instrumentation and whatnot at your facilities. There's a series of water treatment and distribution tanks and reservoirs that need to be replaced or rehabilitated. There's pump station rehabilitation. There's a project to get in water allocation from Lake Mendocino, and then there's a program for leak detection and pipe repair. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see what those numbers look like. So this is what that spending for those different types of projects looks like over the next 5 years, 6 years. And I'm not going to spend too much time on all these numbers because, to be honest, I'm not an engineer. I'm not familiar with these projects. Staff is here available to answer any questions that you might have on the specifics of these projects. But what's of interest to me as a rate consultant is how does this look compared to the capital spending that was proposed 4 or 5 years ago when we were here last time. So if you go to the next slide, this gives a comparison. Oh, this isn't quite it. So this is just the graph that shows what's been spent over the last 6, 7 years. And you can see that there really wasn't a whole lot of capital spending activity 4 years ago. Last year, there was a big project that was pushed through that was debt funded. That was a series of projects, including the solar project. That got funded last year. And then you can see the projected spending is going to steadily increase over the next several years, and it's going to level off in the after 2031. It's the prompt is blocking my number a little bit, but you can see that the average historical spending has been $130,000, and the forecasted average is 3.5. So that's a huge jump in capital spending. And it was the same story as 4 years ago. And I do believe some of the capital spending has been delayed compared to what was hoped for. But the next slide will show you exactly how much was delivered and how much we plan on delivering. So this is an interesting graph. So this shows, the black shows what we projected would be spent back in 2020 when we did the study in 2020. And the blue is the current plan. So if it's a past year, then that's what was actually, if it's in blue and it's a past year, that's what was actually spent. And if it's blue, and for future years, that's what's being projected. So you can see that the spending in 23, 24, and 22, 23, 23 wasn't as high as anticipated. 2025 far exceeded what was anticipated. And then going forward, it kind of goes back and forth. But the bottom line is the numbers in the bottom right corner show you that in 2020, The spending through 2032 was anticipated to be about 22 million, and now we're expecting it to be 25.5 million. So the amount of spending is going to be more than what we had previously planned. And so that's why the rate increases that we're talking about here tonight are a little bit higher than what we had forecasted they would be back in 2020.
Now, is that just an inflationary jump right there?
I'm sorry?
Is that a jump for inflation to 21 to 25?
No, I'd say we had accounted for inflation at the time. I think that the projects just were, you hadn't received bids on some of the projects, and they've been better defined since then. I mean, granted, we assumed 3% inflation back in 2020, so I think inflation's been a bit ahead of that, and so that some of it might be explained by unanticipated inflation.
Thank you.
Next slide.
So Mark, I have your slide here.
I think we'll take
that 100K in 2022.
Rob, we'll give you your time when it's, Rob, we'll give you your chance when it's time, please, okay? We'll let you,
Is incorrect from what we presented 4 years ago.
then we'll ask you to do that up here, please. Sorry to jump on that.
No, I don't.
Next slide, please. Just in terms of reserves, how much cash we try to keep in reserve, we do have some policies in place. A contingency reserve of $1 million, which is about 25% of your annual operating costs and debt service, and then a replacement reserve of $3 million, which is equal to your average capital spending, annual capital spending. So these are just rainy day funds, just in case unexpected expenses or catastrophic failure of assets, that type of thing. Next slide. So this graph is a culmination of all the information that I just provided to you, and it puts it into a 10-year forecast. So the top graph is an area graph in the background, shows revenues, and the columns in the foreground show expenses, and they compare each other. So anytime that the columns are higher than the background green, that's a year when there's a deficit, where your expenses are higher than your revenues, and vice versa. When the columns are below the background, that's a surplus year where you're building your reserves. So the background green, the sort of darker green at the very bottom, that's your miscellaneous revenue. The light green in the middle is your existing rate revenue. And the dark green at the top, that's increasing, and that's the additional revenue you'll get from the proposed rate increases. In terms of the columns, the dark blue is your operating expense, the hashed blue is your debt service, and then the light blue is your capital spending. So you can see that for the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to see deficits, and that can be seen in the line graph in the middle there. You can see that green line is the forecast of how the reserves are going to go. So you're currently at about $8 million in reserves, and we're going to be drawing down on those reserves pretty aggressively over the next 4 or 5 years until it drops below the target reserve line, the black line, in around 2031. We'll dip down not quite close to the minimum reserve level, which is the dash red line, and it will start recovering in about 2033. So if all the forecasts that we have based on inflation and whatnot hold true, then we expect the reserves to get drawn down until about 2033, and then they'll start to recover and get back up to the reserve target level. All this will happen if we increase rates by 7% per year for the next 5 years. And then we forecast that we'll have to do additional 6% increases from 2032 to 2036. Just to put that into context, what had been forecasted back in 2020, because we had exactly the same type of graph before in 2020, where we had proposed 5 years and then we had forecasted. Our forecasted rates back in 2020 were 7%, 7%, 333. So you can see that the first two 7% we got right, but the next 3 years of 3%, unfortunately, are not coming, no longer the proposed increases based on inflation, based on increases in capital spending. Next slide. So what changed since the 2020 study? Why these differences? So there has been a 19% decrease in water usage, which does affect the finances for water utilities. You sell less water, and so you get less revenue. And unfortunately, your costs don't drop at the same level that your revenues drop. And so that ends up being a revenue shortfall of about $273,000 per year. Operating costs are about 2% higher than what we had forecasted back. We did account for inflation, but we were off by about 2%. That 2% is largely driven by an increase in overhead allocation to the general fund, which can be tied back to increase in insurance costs. And then there was an additional employee that was added to the water treatment plant that hadn't been anticipated back in 2020. And then finally, we already talked about how capital spending is going to be $3.6 million higher than what we had projected during the coming time period. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of the rates, next slide. These are for year one with the 7% increase. When we do these rate studies, there's also a cost of service analysis that I mentioned. And so in year one, there's some shifts in how the costs are allocated. So you can see that the usage rates are actually proposed to go up by 8.8%. And then the fixed base charges are proposed to go up by between 1.8 and 2.1%. And so the net impact of those rate increases will result in a 7% increase in revenue across all your customers, but certain customers will see different results depending on how much water they use, the size of their bill, that type of thing. So overall, it's a 7% increase for the city, but for individual customers, they might see a slightly different percentage increase to their bills. Next slide. And here is a table to show you how that will play out. So you can see in year one, if we look at the top row, a single family account with low water usage, we can expect them to see a 5% increase to their bill in year one. And in year two, everybody gets exactly the same 7% increase because the rate structure changes have already been applied. And so year two, everybody gets exactly the same rate increase. It's just in year one, you can see there in the middle that different folks receive slightly different percent increases to their bill. Next slide. So this is just a table that shows what the rates will look like over the next 5 years. Not particularly interesting, just put it up there for documentation. Next slide. And then here is the survey of what the rates, water rates specifically, will look like from currently to next year and where you stand within the region. So that first survey that I showed you was combined water and sewer, and this is just the water bill. So you can see you're kind of middle of the pack, and you'll stay in the middle of the pack relative to your neighboring agencies. Next slide. I believe we're switching over to wastewater. So these will be similar slides, so I won't provide as much background. Next slide. So here's the revenues, very similar, close to 90% rate revenue for the wastewater side, and they also receive a transfer in from the general fund from ad valorem taxes. Next slide. And the operating expenses, a bit less debt service on a percent basis, and pretty similar salaries and benefits, about 45% here. Next slide. Reserve policies are the same, but the amounts are different just because they're different size utilities, but about $700,000 for contingency and $770,000 for replacement reserve. Next slide. And here's the list of the capital projects. There's a slip line project, wastewater treatment plant upgrades, CCTV of sewer mains to look for condition, try to identify areas of problem areas, SSMH lining, biosolids removal, sewer lining replacement, covered building, and wastewater generator replacement. Again, these are all projects that I'm not particularly familiar with, but you can ask staff for details if you're interested. Next slide. And here's what those dollars look like. So the sewer utility is a smaller dollar, smaller system, and smaller capital budget. Next slide. And here's what the spending looks like. So there was a bit more, on a relative basis, more activity over the last 6 years, more consistently, and the spending jump going from $300,000 to $900,000 isn't as dramatic as water, but it is still an increase in capital spending. Next slide. So here's that same graph, kind of comparing plan versus current. So almost exactly the same numbers on the sewer side. $6.4 million was projected back in 2020, and that continues to be the same plan. So in this case, it looks like the projects have turned out to be very similar to what had been forecasted. The timing's a little bit different, but the overall spending's the same. Next slide. And then here is the same graph that shows the revenues versus expenses up above and the reserve levels going forward and the proposed rate increases. So in this case, what had previously been forecasted was 3% increases, and we are proposing 4% increases at this time. The reason for the slight increase, if you go to the next slide, is explained by, again, that decrease in water usage affects sewer as well, because there's a volumetric rate, or there's a usage rate on the sewer side that resulted in a revenue shortfall of $111,000 per year. And operating costs are 1.5% higher than forecasted, again, driven by the same things, the overhead allocation due to insurance, as well as they also hired a new FTE at the wastewater treatment plant. So that explains the additional 1% in the proposed rates. Next slide. Here's the specific rate changes after the cost of service analysis and rate design study. And you can see that single-family homes will get only a 2% increase instead of 4%. Multifamily will actually see a 9% decrease in year one. That was due to the fact that there was a decrease in water usage by multifamily homes. We do an analysis of how much water they use on a per dwelling basis, and they're using less indoor water than the previous study had found, and so they're getting a smaller allocation of costs. The one outlier here, unfortunately, are the public schools, which get charged on an ADA basis, so that's average daily attendance. There's two things at play here. There was a significant I'm sorry, there's a typo on the thing. The footnote should say there has been a decrease in student attendance. That's probably something that you guys are very familiar with, sitting where you do. But the water usage didn't change. And so we're charging them on a per student basis, basically. And when you have the same amount of water usage, but a fewer number of students, we have to charge more per student. And so that's why the percent increase is a 27% increase. Next slide. And then for sewer rates, as you could have imagined, based on the previous two surveys, your sewer rates are lowest in the region, and you'll continue to be the lowest in the region. It's a small, efficient system that doesn't have particularly large capital needs, and it seems like it's doing pretty well. Financially stable, minimal rate increases. What's not to love? Next slide. Here's the rate survey, or rates over the next 5 years. We'll just skip over this one, just a bunch of numbers. And here's that combined survey, once again, that shows that you'll be jumping from second to bottom to third from the bottom. So really not a big change in where you stand in the region with these proposed rate increases. Next slide. And so here's the last slide. We are here giving you our preliminary recommendations. We're happy to take any feedback, questions from the public, questions from council, so that we can come back on May 27th with our final recommendations. After that, we will, with council's approval, we'll send out the 218 notices, the public hearing notices. There is an extra step. You'll see it says deadline for objections. There's a new step in the rate setting process whereby it's called AB 2257, and we solicit any objections from would-be lawsuits from your ratepayers, and it's on the same 218 notice. It's a very useful new step that they're going through. It's called the exhaustion of administrative remedies. The problem was that previously what would happen is that if someone took exception to your rates and thought they were illegal for some reason, the way that you'd find out is a letter from a lawyer. You'd be getting sued over your rates. There was no real administrative step for them to come in and complain about your rates formally. So what this does is that this gives them an opportunity, a platform to object before we adopt the rates, which gives you in turn an opportunity to backtrack if you feel like they have a good point and you think you might lose in court, or your rate consultant screwed up and didn't carry, a decimal point or something. You can make the adjustment before you go so far as to start charging people the wrong rates. The other good thing about the process is that if somebody doesn't submit an objection at that time, they forfeit their right to be able to sue the city in the future. So they have to basically, make it known that they object to the rates during that time period. And if they don't do that, then they no longer have the ability to sue the city over the rates until the next rate study. So it's a very useful process that's going to make things less expensive for everyone. And that's my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
We'll bring it to council. Councilmember Marquez, questions?
Thank you, Mayor. I think one of my questions to start out was what we're seeing here, and this trajectory was really set in place in 2020 by the 2020 council.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So any recommendations? I'm kind of wondering how much room that we have regarding that.
Room in terms of
just kind of what's in place as far as the future spending or any of the plans that are projected.
Right. So the rates that were adopted in 2020 are coming to an end this year. The last rate increase happened last year, and so the decisions going forward, the decisions that were made back in 2020 basically are expiring at this time, and so everything put in front of you now is up for you to decide.
Okay, and that's I guess with the recommendations, looking out to 2036. I just wonder if those rates, the increased rates, are needed for what is needed to be improved. We have our new hires, and so I'm just kind of wondering how much room. This might be a question for our city manager, city attorney too. But how much room do we really have to adjust any of these things? If there's needed improvements, we have needed improvements, right?
I could take a stab at it. And,
okay.
The projects that we've listed here is staff's attempt to see what we're going to need in the next 5 years. I think we still need to do some adjusting on that list, and we'd like to have your input on that list as well. That would potentially affect the rate increases. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of your ability to make changes to the decisions that you make now over the next 5 years, you always have the authority to lower rates. You don't have to go back to your ratepayers or go through a process. If we say 7% and it turns out that you're not spending the capital or your costs go down, you can always vote on having lower rates as long as they don't exceed what we put on the public note, what we talk about during the public notice. So if conditions change to your favor, you can always lower the rates and you don't have to go through a lengthy process. If, on the other hand, you run into higher costs, then you might have to come back and hire a rate consultant or do the work in-house to update the rates at that time. You have to kind of go through the whole process again.
So I think there's probably some meeting with our city manager that we'll do, and what I'll do is defer to the rest of the council, and maybe have any questions, you can circle back. Thank you.
No questions? Go ahead.
I was on the council in 21 is when I came in. It was when all the havoc started with this and the signs and everything else that went on. And we actually did forfeit, I think it was a portion of or a whole one of our percentages for a year that we did at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do see here, and it really bothers me, is a list of projects that should have been done already. These were things that were promised years ago. These are things that our community has been promised, and we haven't fulfilled or executed. And I'm just disappointed to see things like SCADA on here, to see, the talk of the solar panels that we put in aren't hooked up. That's money that we're losing. That's things that we're doing. We're looking at inflation on things and raising rates from what they're marked at. It's because of projects that we haven't done at the prices that we got in 2019 and 2020. Pump station rehabilitation on School Street, I've heard about that from the first day I was on this dais. It's the only thing that's new is the water allocation from Lake Mendocino, and that's because I started it with the Potter Valley project. It's unacceptable to me to look at my constituents in the eyes and say, I'm going to take another 7%, and over that 5 years, it adds up to 50% jump in their rates for their base rate for water. I don't know how I do it. How do I look at someone and say, hey, you're paying $40 base rate, but now I'm going to make it 60, and we haven't executed on any projects. With the pay-as-you-go style, do these engineering reports and things run out of time before we get these projects done, and do we have to re-up some of these engineering reports and things?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how long the shelf life is for the engineering reports.
Okay. I didn't know if that was one for you. We'll bring that up another time.
I think
and it's okay, Derek. I'm going to have a future agenda item I think that this is going to have to come on to with the questions I have. It doesn't really fit what you're doing. I just want to make sure that people know my concern here.
Right.
I want to read through my list real quick to make sure I hit everything for you, and then I'll just leave you alone. Water tanks are a necessity. They're still on this list after 5 years. They're falling apart. A generator to run our water system, it's just, this stuff is kind of unacceptable to me. I will stop, I'll stop right there.
Good. Kind of the same thing. I appreciate great presentation. Kind of brought a lot of stuff to light, and I've kind of got I know all the council is kind of sitting back, and we do need to have a couple more meetings about this internally here, but I'm kind of on the same track as the vice mayor here. I know the generator is a big one, and it should have been down there, should have been running this last winter. So I'm going to have a question about that. And I think, I don't want to tag team future agenda items, but I think that's going to be on there. We need to see, one, why some of these things that already have the money allocated are not there and not done. And that's very frustrating to me. And I think everybody on the council kind of shares the same thing as the vice mayor here is how can we look at people in the eye, walk down the street and say, hey, guess what? Your rates are going up. And we've got nothing for them. So that's where I'm at right now. And I think that'll be a future agenda item. I'll stop that one right there too. But thank you very much for your presentation. And I would like to bring it to the public.
Great.
Sorry for the outburst earlier, but I almost couldn't stay seated in my seat. The one chart showing...
Slide 13 you said, right, Rob?
Yeah, slide 13.
For Mike.
If you went back originally, I think his slide shows roughly $100,000 spent in 2022. We were supposed to spend $1.4 million on things like the Cherry Creek Reservoir, whatnot, one of the tanks. That was in Mark's report. That's what the previous city manager and others promised us. On that other chart, there was $1 million supposedly spent. We were supposed to spend $3.4 million, which was things like water main replacement, the new well, and the sludge drying bed. I mean, on and on. If you look at what was said by Mark and the city at the time, different council, we are not doing what we said we were doing. Now, I'm Rob Kozlowski, by the way. So I feel there's been a lack of transparency. That was 5 years ago. There's another set of lack of transparency now. And it appears that the city of Cloverdale, with their promises, we ended up increasing double-digit rate increases. And I don't know where that money's been going. No major capital improvements were completed during 2021 and 2022. And almost nothing was spent on capital projects during 23 and 24. And that was outlined in Mark Hildebrandt's presentation back when. Meanwhile, the city took on debt financing using these protested rate increases for non-water sewer projects such as HVAC systems and non-operating solar systems. All of this activity occurred during a spate of yearly double-digit rate increases, as I've said, which has gone on for 5 years until now. This foisting of high rates on residents appears to be an bait-and-switch scheme to use water sewer payments to justify financing other projects. Unacceptable. This also meant the abandonment of fiscally responsible pay-as-you-go financing in favor of debt financing. Again, the rate increases were to deliver on these projects, and I can't see any that have been done. And by the way, don't say the water meters, because those were snuck in there, and that used money that I really believe was wasted on meters that were basically brand new, especially where I live. The annual interest rate payment of this incurred debt, and Mark showed it, is to the tune of $800,000. That's $800,000 a year. You could pay for half a tank with that kind of money. That thereby, so some of these critical projects the city said were needed after Mark's last rate study needed to be started to preserve our water and sewer systems. And again, that included both new and replacement wells, a mandated Cherry Creek Reservoir replacement, a Ritter Reservoir, and a biosolids removal, not to mention both significant water line and sewer line replacements. That work has not been done unless there's, an emergency. To add insult to injury, another $250,000 study is to be performed to look at the overall well situation where that new well should have already been built. If you look at today's chart, where are we spending $250,000 to study it again? Makes no sense. And last but not least, where are all those impact fees going? They've been historically used for City of Cloverdale's water and sewer projects. Bottom line, and I will stop, enough double-digit rate increases, enough studies that enrich consultants and continue to kick the can down the road. Enough delays. Let's see some promised deliverables. Let's have some transparency. Thank you.
Michelle Winterbottom. I just have one question. Does the council, the city of Cloverdale, have a capital improvement program?
Yes.
So are these capital improvements in that program and it's been updated? So then you knew that these were scheduled to complete and they just weren't. So.
Just for a little clarification, we did know absolutely everything you said is true. Some of these things have been done, but they're not completed. Like when you talk about lining sewer pipes and things like that, that's ongoing because you can't do them all. So there is a lot of it, but it's not everything that we had expected and should be done at this point.
Individual items should be scheduled on that capital improvement program year after year after year, and it should be updated every year.
They are with our budget, and that is why you see our frustration.
You said that you didn't know about them, but yet you
No,
have
we knew
a
about
capital
them.
improvement program. And they're on there. That's what you just said.
What I said is I didn't know that they weren't completed, and it's frustrating. Jennifer, I will bring you a microphone. I apologize.
There were two pie charts, and I think that I saw on repairs and maintenance, the water was like 2.5% of that pie chart. 2.5% was spent on repairs and maintenance, and then the wastewater, I think, was 4%. I'm curious, that to me sounds like a really low, like a small amount of money spent on repairs and maintenance, and I'm curious, if cities should budget, how does that compare to other cities that you see?
It's a bit hard. It's very hard to compare how that number compares to other folks because a lot of it has to do with just how you label things in your budget, and obviously the salaries and benefits for your operators will be going towards repair and repayment. Their time spent on those expenses, the 2.5%, 4% were probably just specifically for supplies and equipment used for repairs and replacement for minor capital. Right.
Page 8.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not can't remember exactly which line items were labeled as repair and replacement in that operating budget, but I believe it's just for supplies for small, minor capital expenses. So it doesn't include any of the capital spending. So repair and replacement, yeah, repair and maintenance. So that's going to be just minor equipment, small pipes, that type of thing. It's not major capital. So the repair and replacement is, there's the minor capital and then there's the major capital, and they're combined. But what that doesn't include is all the salaries and benefits is also, lots of that's being spent on maintenance as well. So, sure. I can hear you. I can repeat it too.
So when I owned a business, for example, like there were targets. So like 30% of my revenue should be for rent.
Jennifer, there's a mic for you.
Thank you. So when I had a business, there were like targets that you would try to hit. Like, so when you were looking for a place to rent or lease for your business, 30% ideally should go towards rent. Like if you were spending 50% of your revenue. So I'm just curious, like, do you guys have like salaries and benefit targets? Like you can't succeed when you're at this percent, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely does make sense. And by that metric, the suggestion that you're making, it's actually counterintuitive, but it's a good thing that the repairs and maintenance number is low here, because if that was a big part of your operating cost, that would mean that you're running around fixing pipes all the time that are failing, right? Where you want to repair your pipes and your infrastructure is through your capital program before it fails. So if it shows up in here, it's because you're running around putting Band-Aids on your system. You're spending all your time trying to catch up with leaks and whatnot. So it's actually a good sign that this is a relatively small number. In terms of targeted numbers for benefits and that sort of thing, it's I used to wear a hat where we do surveys trying to look at how to compare different utilities, and what we found is that it's really, each utility is so unique and so different because of how it interacts with the rest of the government that it's within, and the size of the system and the age of the system and the topography and the water source, that it's really hard to find valuable metrics for having sort of a normal performance number for water and wastewater utilities. So it's elusive.
Just one last thought, this is super quick, but like it's like fine dining. Like fine dining has really high food costs compared to like a pub. So like that, but there's still targets, like there's still norms.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like that in your world.
Can you repeat your question?
He's asking you to repeat the question in the mic.
Okay. So in the world of fine dining, for example, food costs are way high. They're higher than like your average food cost for like a McDonald's or for like an average restaurant. But there's still like, these norms when you go into these businesses and you research like, where should I be? Just to give you some structure. So like, okay, this is just insane what I'm spending.
Right.
And if I can do something better here, then
I mean, the bottom line is really the survey, right? That shows that obviously Cloverdale is not running hog wild with their costs, and that they're not, bloated or anything. They've got very controlled costs, and the survey is showing that the costs are under control. So we look at the big picture. It seems like Cloverdale's doing fine. In terms of the minutia and the details, that's beyond what I'm capable of answering at this time. But great question.
Thank you. I have one last comment that I'd like to make, and it is, Rob, as far as the subcommittees coming on, we went to the system of as needed. Obviously, we're at as needed, and I agree, there's some good information that comes out. We're going to kick those back off and get some infrastructure subcommittees down there. I totally welcome your comments. I can't say I don't disagree with you on some of this. It's a frustration for some of us that have been up here for a while. Those conversations were had with some previous folks, and, you put the trust in them and say, hey, deploy this, it's paid for, and you're expecting that to be done, and it didn't get done. So we will be having some conversations at infrastructure and coming back to council. One of my goals is to get this thing tightened up. I agree with you. I have the same frustrations as you. Thank you for your comments. We'll make sure you know when those infrastructure subcommittees come out. All right. Any other comment from up here? Nice. None for the public. Okay. Let's move on to the consent calendar. Yeah.
Just to check with the city manager, Mayor, the item does say water, wastewater rate study and council direction. We didn't receive any council direction, for the record.
The direction is we're going to conduct some subcommittees, and we're going to fine tooth comb the project list and see where we land in terms of the rate increases.
Yep.
Perfect. We just like to reiterate it. Thank you.
All right. We do have one recusal for item F3 from the vice mayor. So do I have a motion for F1, F2, F4, and F5?
Would like to make a motion for, just to clarify, F1, F4, and F5?
F2 has been pulled.
F2, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction, F2.
I'll second F1,
Okay.
F4, and F5.
Okay. Let's put it to a vote.
All right, a motion for the consent calendar for items F1, F4, and F5. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0 with one council member, Lasky, abstaining. Being absent.
Yep.
4-0, yeah. Okay.
And F3. All right. Now I need another motion for item F3.
I'd like to make a motion to move F3 forward.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Bring it to a vote.
Item F3, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 3-0 with one abstention, one absence.
Come back, Vice Mayor. All right, let's move into new business.
Mayor, through the mayor, I want to just make sure everyone knows why I recused. Precision Excavation has given a donation towards my campaign for county supervisor, so I'm recusing myself from that item, and I removed myself from the dais during that vote.
Thank you. All right, let's move into new business. Recycled water feasibility study presentation.
Mayor and council members, we have Rodora zooming in. She's a representative of West Coast. They performed the recycled water feasibility study. She's going to give you the presentation. I think Mike has the slides, and then we'll be available for questions after.
Thank you, Rodora. I just promoted you to panelist. If you can just say the next slide when you're ready. Let me pull up that presentation. It'll be one moment. All right, Rodora, we are ready when you are.
Good morning or good evening. All right. Good evening, Mayor Wheeler, Vice Mayor Lance, and City Council members. Tonight, I'll be presenting the city's recycle water feasibility study and the alternatives available to the city. Checking to see if the slides are up. All right. So, next slide, please. The recycle water feasibility study is about identifying potential recycled water users, defining total recycled water demands, identifying recycled water market, and identifying a project that is that would provide a new alternative water supply source for the city that would help its water supply reliability. Its goal is to find an economically feasible project for the city. This project is 100% funded by combination of funds from the State Water Board Recycle Water Planning Grant, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Recycling and Desalination Planning Funding Program. And this study is to be completed by May 29, 2026. Next slide, please. In this presentation, I'll be providing an overview of the drivers for the recycled water, potential recycled water uses, recycled water system alternatives comparison, staff requests, and the next steps. First, the drivers for recycled water. Next slide, please. The drivers for recycled water include providing water supply benefits. It would help preserve or it would help improve water supply resilience. And it's included in several specific plans in the city's planning projects. And it could potentially offset demands from existing and or future customers. It could address uncertainties associated with cities' wastewater treatment permit requirements, particularly with increasingly stringent regulatory requirements. It could help with supply uncertainty associated with the Potter Valley project, decommissioning, and climate change. And right now, this project, state and federal funding is available to support the city's efforts in advancing recycled water. Next slide, please. The city relies solely on the Russian River connected water supply and has pre-1914 senior water rights. But climate change has presented increasing frequency and severity of droughts. The city experienced a multi-year drought, 2014 to 2016, and then again in 2021-22. In 2021, the State Water Board issued a curtailment order, and the city was required to cease diversions except for minimum for human health and safety. The State Water Board extended curtailments in the summer of 2022, and the city had to implement stage 4 water conservation and associated drought rates. These experiences illustrate a need for greater supply resilience. Even with those senior water rights, the city is vulnerable during drought. Regulatory risks and supply uncertainty are increasing, and the Potter Valley project may impact available water supply from the Russian River. Diversifying supplies improves reliability and local control. Next slide, please. Our assessment shows that recycled water could augment water supply and reduce water conservation by customers. This graph shows available water supply during the worst dry year based on the 2021 curtailment, shown in the blue and purple bar. And the green line shows normal water with no conservation action. The required conservation is between 21 to 23% once recycled water is implemented. Right now it's projected 2035 or later. And compared to if there was no recycled water, customers would have to save more than 27% in some years. Next slide. So potential recycled water uses. For the feasibility study, we evaluated recycled water for non-drinking water uses. This would mean that recycled water would be delivered for non-drinking users, meaning more water available for drinking water purposes. Next slide. So potential water users include current irrigation customers, planned active development areas, agricultural and industrial users, Calpine geysers facilities. It's important to note that recycled water for irrigation could address city safety, and so it's an important part of your water supply. During the dry season, dry or dead landscaping around structures could present fuel for fire events, and so maintaining landscaping is one of the ways to mitigate fire danger. So from our evaluations, the city could potentially deliver an average day demand of 87,200 gallons per day to 660,000 gallons per day, depending on the alternative. Next slide, please. All options would provide wastewater benefits, but water supply benefits can vary depending on the user. Existing irrigation customers could potentially offset existing demands. Planned development could reduce ultimate future potable water demand. Ag and industrial users could potentially present the city an opportunity to trade water supply for additional regional Russian River diversions for your drinking water supply. And Calpine geysers could potentially increase revenue to purchase additional water supply or participate in regional supply projects. Note that sending water supply to users such as the ag users or Calpine could require legal services because they are outside the city service area. Next slide, please. So let's look at the recycled water system alternatives. Next slide. Alternative one is to serve existing irrigation customers. This alternative could offset up to 87,200 gallons per day of water supply seasonally during the dry years. It would require construction of pipeline, pump station, and storage tank. Next slide. Alternative two would be to serve future planned development with some agricultural use when recycled water distribution system is adjacent to agricultural users. This could potentially offset 145,000 gallons per day seasonal water use. It requires city construction of pipeline, pump station, and storage tank. We assume that the developers would construct on-site piping to use recycled water within their development. Alternative three, next slide, would be to serve agricultural users outside the city limits. The city could serve up to 188,000 gallons per day of seasonal water use to ag users. This amount of recycled water could serve 255 acres of agricultural land. This would require that the city construct pipeline and pump station, and agricultural users would construct local pipelines and storage facilities. Alternative four, next slide, is to serve, to sell water to Calpine geysers. This could potentially use up all of the city's recycled water your wastewater effluent up to 660 gallons per day year-round. This would require construction of pipeline and pump station by Calpine up to the city's wastewater treatment facilities. Next slide, please. In addition to the installation of a distribution system, wastewater treatment plant improvements would be required for alternatives 1, 2, and 3. The treatment would require the production of tertiary treated recycled water using common filtration method. The sizing and the layout of the facilities vary depending on the alternative. Alternative 4 does not require treatment plant upgrades because Calpine could use secondary treated wastewater effluent, which is what the city's current wastewater treatment plant produces. Next slide, please. And there's a no project alternative for the city. The benefits of this project is that there's no treatment plant upgrades required, and it avoids upfront capital costs and future operational costs. The challenges are that you would have limited options to address water supply deficits. So in the future, there would be increased conservation in dry years, increased surface water use under existing water right, which could be curtailed, increased reliance on purchased water supply. It doesn't address ongoing supply vulnerability, and it does not address wastewater regulatory uncertainty. Next slide, please. So let's compare the alternatives. Next slide. As part of the study, a quantitative comparison was conducted. Alternatives are listed in the first column of this table, and cost and water supply are provided in subsequent columns. Alternatives 1 through 3, capital costs could range from $27.4 million for alternative 2 to $36.6 million for alternative 1. That would be the capital cost. And then there would be an annual O&M cost that would range from $245,000 to $311,000 in cost. Alternative 1 could deliver the least recycled water and provide the highest annual cost of 5.4 cents per gallon. Alternative 2 would deliver a little bit more recycled water with an annual cost of 2.7 cents per gallon. Alternative 3 would deliver the most recycled water in the area with no capital or operational, or with annual cost of 2.1 cents per gallon. And then alternative 4 would be the alternative that would provide the most recycled water for beneficial use at no capital or operational cost to the city, assuming that Calpine would pay for bringing its pipeline to city's treatment facilities. Then the last alternative provided is the no project option, which means no recycled water and no cost to the city. Next slide. A qualitative analysis was also conducted. Alternatives 1 and 2 would provide potable water offset, provide regional water supply sustainability, and provide future flexibility. Alternative 3 may be able to provide potable water offset and the opportunity to exchange wastewater effluent in exchange for drinking water supply from the Russian River. The city would need to negotiate with the ag users, so we do have a question mark about that potable water offset. Alternative 4, and the no project option have no or low upfront costs. Calpine could potentially provide the city additional revenue so that it may purchase additional water supply from a regional provider. The no project option would provide the city future flexibility, and the city could reassess the potential beneficial use of its wastewater effluent in the future. Next slide, please. The study is almost complete, but requires city council input on the selection of a preferred alternative. All alternatives would address wastewater uncertainty that the city is facing. So the question is, how should these alternatives be prioritized? What are the city's criteria for a successful project? And how should the criteria be ranked? For your consideration, the preferred project or no project will be reflected in the feasibility study. Up to $400,000 in USBR funding is available for next steps towards implementation. And that would be for detailed planning and preliminary design. For that effort, work must start in July and be completed by December 2027. It requires equivalent city funding match. By completing the preliminary design, the city could show project readiness and increase its eligibility and competitiveness for future external funding. So next slide, please. And one more. As a reminder for City Council, this slide shows a summary of the alternatives and the costs and benefits associated with them. I'm going to turn the presentation over to City staff to discuss their requests and recommendation and for City Council discussion. So I'll go back to you, Derek and Kevin.
Okay, thank you, Rodora. Yes, we're asking for direction on this for these future wastewater studies. With could you go back one slide, another slide? So with the available $400,000, city engineering is anticipating the next step being an $857,000 endeavor, which would put the city's match in the $430,000 range to complete the next steps. The city engineer does recommend that the council look closely at the proposed development alternative. I'm recommending the no project. I think this is a great study. I think maybe this is a little bit soon for what we need, and with the rate study and things coming up, the wastewater is operating good, and we definitely need to look at where we're spending these monies. So that is my recommendation, is the city engineer's recommendation. Like I said, she would like the council to look at the proposed development alternative. So any other questions? I'm sure there's lots.
Derek, just a question. When you refer to no project, would that be really just kind of tabling this to a later date? It's not just like.
So the no project would result in them finalizing the study, and then the council accepting the study, and then this study would, for all intents and purposes, be shelved, and you guys could bring it back and reassess it at a later date if you would like. But the USBR match funding would no longer be on the table.
Okay, and that's, I mean, that funding would not be available. There's always a possibility of some other future matching.
It is to be noted that in engineering department, the $430,000 match that we would be on, that's if we did not get any additional funding, and they're trying really hard to get an additional $150,000 in funding, but they haven't currently secured it. So I'm working off of what we have right now.
Okay. So just to clarify, our presentation is finished and we can kind of go into general questions and comments at this point? Okay. I think, the idea of recycled water is a great idea. Evaluating our options here, it's kind of feel that, tabling might be a good option. Some of the factors around, possible developers are uncertain. I think even with the proposed formation of Alexander Valley Water District, that some of those options might change in the future, pending their approval. I think, and what, just the general cost, if we were to run it back to our city, I mean, if we had all the money in the world, that's a great idea, but I think the cost of that is also a concern. So I think for maybe circle back, I'd like to hear what the council has to say, but I think, maybe tabling this for now might be the best thing.
I have questions like regarding the Calpine option. Are there certain reasons why you don't like that option?
So I had met with them a couple of times, and I'm still trying to get a formal letter of commitment. I think with the change in their ownership and senior staff there, I think their long-term future, I'm not sure if this pipeline is in it. I'm hoping it is, but we haven't got a 100% letter of commitment formal from them. So that would be kind of, if that alternative was chosen, we would then pursue them.
We could still pursue it regardless of what happens tonight. If the Calpine option becomes a reality, we can still.
Yeah. If they present it to us, we will definitely talk to them about it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just for entertainment purposes, really at this point on this one for me, plant upgrades. Who pays for that? Does that come out of this grant funding as well?
So the grant funding, the $400,000 available. It's just
no, I mean, like,
that would be all capital. That would be a CAP. There's nothing queued up for that. This is all
nothing keyed up for that. Yearly operational costs, they are about a $300,000 average. Nothing keyed up for that. Mm-hmm. How many steps in this process are there? If we're starting on a $400,000, then we go to an $837,000. What's next?
So the 857 would be the total next step, and then the 400 would be grant money. So the remaining. The next step just gets us to the detailed planning and preliminary design, and that's it. The next step would be final design, implementation. So there's a lot of steps.
A lot of steps still after the 857.
Yes.
So then let's talk about, since we were at our last agenda item, we're using 19% less water right now, so people's rates have to go up because you still have to pay your bills. So now we're going to cut out another 27% of our water. So if I'm a constituent, I love helping the environment, but this isn't good for me because it makes my rates skyrocket.
Yeah, we would be, we would be charging for the recycled water, but not nearly at the rate as what we're charging for treated water.
But they're not using the water, so then they would get charged on that for more.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll just stop right there because I can see where I want to go with this, and I think everyone else does as well.
I guess my question, Derek, is, one, how long is this study good for?
I don't see an expiration date on it.
Okay.
The numbers may not be feasible, but recalculation, including inflation and supply costs.
And I keep hearing, and I think for the 4 years I've been up here, absolutely every conversation we've had with previous city manager and everything is we've got to do a study. We do a study. We've done so many studies. I sat and stared at binders full of studies. They had a sunset to them. Oh, we need to do a new study. What's wrong with the old one? Oh, it's out of date. And we continue to pay $70,000 or $80,000 leaning towards where we're at in so much deferred maintenance right now that now we're going to be playing catch up. So I'm not going to, this is a lot of information here. I'd like to, punt this to, I think this needs to go to another subcommittee. And we talk about this and bring some more stuff back to council here and so we can digest this. But I think tabling is a great option, run it to a subcommittee.
There's one consideration is that this needs to be completed by May 29th.
Yes.
So the consultant needs to wrap up the project and submit it in order to complete the grant. So that's one thing we could do is if there's any interest, we could come back at the next council meeting with some alternatives in terms of what that money would pay for, maybe a little more detail on that. If that's not the direction, that's fine as also.
The numbers won't, I mean, they won't change from this council meeting to next. It's still going to be the same projected numbers.
And I see we have till May 29th, but this needs to go to a subcommittee, I think, and get hashed out a little bit more where we can sit and talk about it and then bring it back to council with.
I think if with passing the grant, because it's currently USBR grant funded. And so wrapping up that grant, that's what gives us the timeline. And so if council chooses to push it to subcommittee and then bring it back up to council or prolong the process, whether we wrap it up here or continue to move on, that could jeopardize the grant money that's paying for this portion.
We just have to hit the 29th, by the 29th of May, correct?
Rodor, you're still on the line. Could you give us a projection of those exact dates?
Yeah. So, we're a little bit behind already, the USBR, and we were able to request an extension. But we're supposed to move forward with the next phase, which is a pre-design, starting July 1. So, should we want to push this schedule further out, we would need to have a conversation with our USBR project manager and see if we can make some changes to the schedule.
So Mayor, if I may, so it seems as though, and Rodora could correct me, but it seems as though what we're really asking here, or what staff is asking, is direction from the council as to whether one of those projects, alternatives you've heard from your Public Works Director regarding his recommendation, also from your city engineer, believe she had a recommendation as well. But the May 29th date seems to be the sticking point here, where it seems as though the staff is really looking for direction as far as how to move. Now, they can go back and ask whether we could extend it again. But it sounds like at this point from the conversation, I don't know if there's an appetite to go try to get an extension, come back, or it's really going with the no project at this point, finalize this, and then potentially keep working through it through your subcommittees or whatnot. But I think that's kind of what I'm hearing as far as the potential two options.
If I can add one, kind of go circling back to the Calpine option, because that possibly could be something that might bring some revenue to us.
Yeah, I'm continually testing those waters continuously all the time.
Because when I look at with the other alternatives, it's like we don't have a development in the books right now that's planned. Running the pipe to the rest of the city is going to be very, very expensive. I love that option. It just the cost is really what gets me. And I kind of look at, Ukiah, that they just kind of sacrificed the water to their ag community. Ag plugs in, and that seemed like, for them, they didn't want to spend the money to run it to the municipality. So I think, their access to ag is different than ours, that, they're surrounded. We have to cross a river. I think one of the other questions in that if we were to take the ag option, and there was some infrastructure that was put in place to cross the river, would maybe there's some other benefits that that infrastructure can also provide us in the future. But there is a little more difficulty with that. So the option of Calpine, that if that can bring us some revenue and maybe even bring our rates down, possibly.
So,
That certainly sounds interesting.
I would say any project, any alternative other than the no project alternative is going to constitute a commitment of the city match to finalize the preliminary planning. And so that's the second stage of this project that was in the original grant agreement from the previous administration. The even, if I'm not mistaken, Rodor, even choosing 4 would trigger that additional.
Actually, because alternative 4 would not require additional facilities, you wouldn't have to do any pre-design, right?
Okay.
But you
Okay.
would have to
So-
have negotiations and discussions with Calpine.
Right, and we're
And that you can do that
they're
at
not ready
any
to
time.
finalize yet.
Yeah.
So if you went with options 1, 2, or 3,
Yep.
that comes with the commitment of the city's match for the rest of the on-the-table grant money to finalize, because what you're doing is you're choosing a pathway to do a pre-design.
I'm definitely hesitant on that one. I think, for option 4, if that kind of becomes a time constraint that we just can't have those negotiations before that deadline date, I guess that's just the way it goes. But certainly, I think that's an option that does sound interesting, that really requires less commitment from us and maybe can provide a benefit.
Yeah. And then the city engineer did to send an email with her details on her background or reasoning why.
Yeah, and I would like to state that for alternative 4, the Calpine option, you don't need to have negotiations with Calpine at this point. I mean, I think, if you want to pursue that option along with it, or maybe a no project option, that could be documented in the report. And then you would take your time in whatever work you need to do with Calpine to implement that option.
Thanks, Rodor. Certainly, that's something I'd like to bounce off the council.
I'm really interested in the Calpine option, and I just think it would be an excellent option if it's possible, rather than spending money.
I don't want to spend another dime on this. Back of the napkin, you're at $480,000 a year if Calpine worked perfect and they paid for everything. If we pay for a pipe from our sewer plant to the bridge, we're out for 20 years and it's not going to work right. So unless they're going to come in here with a contract that you can show would override everything we're talking about here, it doesn't pencil out for our customers, and I'm against it. Sorry.
May 29th is like the city attorney said, is kind of the sticking point here. So what I understand here is if we were to even do the no option here, that still moves this project forward on their timeline, correct?
Correct.
Without any, the city owes nothing.
No further fund commitments or anything that they would finalize
And then we
the
meet
study.
their 29th deadline and they can continue on.
Yep.
Okay. For what?
No project would be no additional funding commitment.
Okay. That's the one I'm going. I know my thoughts on this is previous agenda items. We've got to really dig deep and shore up what we've got going on at the water plant right now. We've got a lot of big, capital improvement projects that need to be taken care of. I just can't see spending anything on this. Future, yes, absolutely great idea. Healdsburg's done it. Other people have done it, and it's worked out for them. But we're not Healdsburg. We don't have the money that Healdsburg does. So until we can get everything shored up and get our plant operational, taking care of Cloverdale residents, and no breakdowns or very few, and these guys have everything we need, I just don't think this is a great option to move forward. I vote for no project on this one.
Is there public comment? Do you want to?
Yes.
public comment.
You want to open it?
Yes.
Yeah, Rob Kozlowski here again. I just feel this is a boondoggle. They're talking about construction of pipeline and pump stations for recycled water. I say, let's do this work for residents drinking water instead right here in Cloverdale. Besides, if you start doing this kind of project, you start using up our own resources to keep track of what's going on. One of the justifications, though, of the young lady's presentation at Yoast was that there's increasing frequency and severity of droughts, which is why we're doing it. This premise is all wrong currently because there's been no shortage of rain, at least around here, for over 5 years. In fact, it should be noted that, quote, after experiencing one of the wettest holiday seasons on record, still soggy California hit a major milestone this week, having 0 areas of abnormal dryness for the first time in 25 years, unquote. That quote came from the LA Times in an article called Drenched California Has No Dry Areas After 25 Years, and that came out January 10th, 2026. So I'm an advocate that for, instead of diverting resources, time, and money to produce another study that is not implemented, please focus on current water and sewage projects that benefit Cloverdale residents. Paying for a study on recycled water is not in the public interest. Instead, as posited to the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors years ago, consider the following common sense ideas related to groundwater that cost taxpayers and ratepayers almost nothing. Quote, if the goal of the whole framework, sustainability, is another way to say long-term means balance, groundwater extraction using wells must be matched by replenishment, like balancing a bank account with withdrawals and deposits. Then the counties and cities across Sonoma, such as Cloverdale, must capture rainwater and inject it into the ground. As new development occurs, erosion control should include swales or bioswales to slow down rainwater runoff to enhance groundwater replenishment. Is this occurring across the county, as was done in our 2018 single-family home development here in Cloverdale by Blackstone Homes? We have a gorgeous swale that slows down the water flow and it sinks into the area around our roads. How about rainwater collection systems instead of studies? How about permeable paving as roadways are rehabilitated instead of studies? How about leaky cisterns instead of studies? So, no more studies is my message. Please, no more studies. Say no to this boondoggle or an uneconomical project. Let's implement no to low-cost solutions today. This matching $400,000 being bandied about could go a long way for higher priority water and sewer projects in Cloverdale. Thank you.
A few more public comments or
Yeah,
questions?
public comments closed on that item. Derek, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Kevin, did you have anything?
No, I think we want to do a motion, though, so we can memorialize what the direction is, if it's no project or...
On request for clarification, sounds like, no project is on the table, as well as, just want to clarify with the Calpine option, if there was no spending and they were to sort of cover that, would that be something that we'd be interested in?
I think if we could rely on Calpine 1 to come into the negotiating table and commit to something with a contract, then it's an option, but the way I see it, it's not an option now. We have too many CIP projects to take care of around here to take on another project. I think this is something that needs to be looked at in the future and take care of what's going on in Cloverdale right now. Any other comment?
Yeah, if they're looking for direction, I'm not for the Calpine option at this point.
Not either. I'm no project.
I don't want to spend another dime or minute of our staff time on this at this point.
Yeah, you can always bring the Calpine option back to a subcommittee and ask for an update or communication log update for that. We can
Exactly.
supply that for you. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
thank you, Derek. Thank you, Redora. I'd like to make a motion to proceed with no project.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. To a vote, Mike? I'm sorry. No project. We have a motion and a second.
Our motion was made by Councilmember Marquez, seconded by Councilmember Morgenstern. To Move forward with no project. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Lasky being absent. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, council. All right, let's move into council member reports. Item I. Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Council member report. Thursday, April 9th, I did attend along with Councilmember Morgenstern and Councilmember Lasky, City Clerk Maloney, City Manager Thompson, and Chief Parker. The Sonoma County Mayors and Council Members Dinner hosted in Healdsburg. Friday, April 10th, attended State of the City. That was hosted by our Chamber of Commerce here at CPAC. Saturday, April 11th, I attended the Supper Club grand opening. I wasn't there for the ribbon cutting, but did have a fine dinner there that evening. Just want to mention they are part of Sonoma County Tourism's accredited hospitality professionals. It's great to see a hotel in our town that also has a restaurant, and that's, I think, been a while since the Dante was offering those services a while ago. Tuesday, April 14th, I did have a meeting with Caitlin Vegby of Legal Aid of Sonoma County. We worked on updating a draft for the rent stabilization ordinance and creating a full draft for closure and conversion regulations ordinance, and those will be hopefully brought to the council at a future time. Thursday, April 16th, attended Zero Waste Sonoma. We had quite a long talk about their website. Zero Waste Sonoma does now have a pilot program. It's called SONA, and that's basically allows people 24 hours a day to go there. This is driven by an AI system that people can go there and basically get questions answered 24 hours a day, and that will basically kind of cut down calls in their eco desk and maybe even distribution of their zero waste guide. Monday, April 20th, I visited the California Indian Museum and Cultural Center. Wednesday, April 22nd, today, met with Jason Taramino with PG&E, learned a little bit about what's going on in our region. Just want to also announce that the Cloverdale Career Fair will be postponed until next school year. The Chamber of Commerce is jumping in on that, and all the contacts that we've reached out so far this year. Again, a lot of people are in the lineup, but they will be back next year. Did meet with staff regarding community garden update. I think the next step is to have a meeting with the community members that are interested in creating the admin for that, and that meeting will likely be out on site, and that will be with our park superintendent, Hector Galvan, and kind of throwing that out to the community for them to really create the group themselves. And then just want to give an update. Cloverdale Historical Society, in cooperation with Sonoma County Museum, will working on Cloverdale having a piece that will be exhibited at the museum. And right now, I think our only mention is that we were close to the Italian Swiss colony. So this will actually, working with Kate and Lynette from the Historical Society through Karen Wise down at the Sonoma County Museum in coordination to get that going. Thank you.
April 9th, I attended a Mayors and Council Members Association of Sonoma County Board of Directors meeting in Healdsburg. We received a presentation by Bert Whitaker, the Sonoma County Regional Parks Director. The topic was Measure M, Parks for All, funding for city and regional parks. I also attended the ribbon cutting at the Supper Club on April 11th. The Supper Club has a gorgeous interior. Everybody should stop by and take a look. April 21st, I attended the campaign event for supervisor for District 4.
Great, I'll go over just a few things I've done the past couple weeks. So, I was a guest speaker and judge for a 5th grade class for some projects they had regarding science and water. It was a great time for Mrs. Lewis. I attended the All Chambers event in Rohnert Park. I met with the owner of the property where the proposed development from Esmeralda is going to go. He wanted to discuss his ownership of the property from the inception. I attended the Cloverdale FFA barbecue fundraiser, Sonoma County Children's Gala in Santa Rosa. Last week I had a meeting with PG&E admin to discuss the Potter Valley project, and that is where they agreed to accept a proposal and meet with the federal government and some public entities to sell the dams to them and do the negotiations. And so formal invitations will be going out from the White House to them, and this is where I kind of take a step back. And then I met with Sonoma Water this morning to discuss a whole bunch of projects for Cloverdale, ways that we're working together from all the funding that we've been receiving, whether it's the water storage in Lake Mendocino or the water that we will be getting compared to what we are getting from the NERF or two-basin solution and how that would work. And they also gave me some good ideas that I will be presenting to our city manager for water as we continue to possibly develop here in Cloverdale, some ideas to help us override the funding that it would cost us. So that's it.
Right, attended the State of the City here, put on by the Chamber. Went down to a Sonoma County Mayor's legislative meeting, and they are back in session. There's some bills coming out. I don't have those bills right now because the Cal Cities hasn't decided exactly which ones they are supporting. Our next meeting, we will have that down. We'll decide which ones. Brought up, there's an interesting bill, AB 2624, coming out. Brought that up to the folks down there, and it is the new one. It was brought forward by Bonta, our Attorney General's wife, and it's the Stop Nick Shirley bill that's out. What that would affect is any independent journalists. It would put some pretty strict regulations on them. Haven't heard any traction, but we are talking about that at our next agenda. And I think a lot of the mayors were pretty interested in that. Also, didn't get a chance to attend the dinner, had a different meeting to be at. Coffee with the mayor was pretty interesting. Spoke with Jennifer Solon up there, had a couple questions with her, some good dialogue. I always appreciate that, Jennifer. And then also, we're set up, and I know the council got an email to meet with the same gentleman that the vice mayor and Kevin met with on the Esmeralda owner, the guy that owns it right now and owns the property. He's requesting meetups with us, and I also have a couple meetups with community members that I have set up. So appreciate it. We mentioned, hey, if you guys want to talk to us one-on-one or get a hold of us, please email us, and some folks have, and I'm glad they have, and we're going to have some meetups, so it's going to be successful. That's all I got. Thank you. All right. No, city manager, attorney reports.
First. Just real quick, we're going to have to push back the release of the newsletter tomorrow. As you know, Mike is a big contributor to that, and he's inundated with public records requests, so he's going to need to dedicate tomorrow to working on those. So I apologize for that, but we'll be back with the newsletter very soon.
And Mayor, I'm not Alex, Jose Sanchez. Alex is on vacation, and I had the pleasure of covering the meeting for him. Always a pleasure to be here in Cloverdale with all of you.
All right. Adjourn the meeting. Future agenda. Yeah, we have no future agenda.
I have something. I would like to discuss maybe if we could come up with maybe a more transparent way of handling the water issue, the decommissioning of the dams, where like we have regular reports at every meeting. And also, instead of just one person working on the water issue, I think it's a big issue, and maybe we could discuss all 5 of us working on the issue. And so that's my idea. And I also wanted to, if possible, get an ad hoc homeless committee meeting put on the agenda, on the calendar.
So those would be two items, two separate items. In support of that, I think first item certainly would also be open to reevaluating the representation for Cloverdale regarding the water, and maybe even getting a review of how we came to that, or how that decision was made, or what it entails.
Yeah, we do have two people that are involved in the water currently, and a lot of the information has to stay confidential and can't be privy to everybody at the exact same time. So that is why you get the pieces that I can provide, and that is why right now it has gone public as of yesterday, and that is why I'm providing it. Ad hoc. That's.
We'll do that.
Looking for consensus on one item at a time. Do you want to discuss the Potter Valley project or water rights? Is there anything that we don't have consensus on the floor right now?
I think it's a review of whatever agreement was made, that there would be two people representing the city. I'd like to reevaluate that.
Is there a consensus by the council? We agreed at future meetings that we needed to.
I would like to
full consensus.
reevaluate that and also have a discussion on how we can deal with the water issues more transparently, because I, as a council member, don't feel like I'm getting enough information regularly or having any say in it. So I think the public's probably wondering what's going on with the water as well.
How about this option is we, for a while there, at every meeting, we're doing a Potter Valley update to a point where we could, and like you said, there's some sensitive information out there, and it could blow a lot of negotiations if we were to bring it forward. I think we need to bring that forward and have it as an update at regular council meetings. I would agree to that as far as we can. And I don't know, I'm unclear on what we're evaluating for.
I guess I was a little unclear on the process that was undergone that chose the two representatives. I think that was never clear. I think the decision wasn't really made clear, in that would be good to have that decision made clear and reevaluated and done in a public setting.
Maybe now, Jose, would that be a good closed session item? I believe the initial choosing was done in closed session for the two representatives. Would that be something to bring up in closed session we would talk about?
If it's okay, I'll follow up. I wasn't involved in that closed session.
Okay.
But let me go ahead and I could follow up with the city attorney as far as kind of the proper venue of bringing something like that up.
Okay.
But obviously, if it was in closed session, there's confidentiality.
Correct.
But I could definitely follow up. Again, I wasn't involved in those conversations.
Now, does that fill the looking for how we came to that determination? I know that was done in closed session.
No, it doesn't. Because, I mean, I don't want to give any details of the meeting, but I don't believe that decision was made.
In closed session?
Correct.
So let me ask, what is your goal? Is it to change the people that are on that committee? Just trying to figure it out right
I would like to reevaluate that decision and make it transparent to our community. And if it, ultimately, I think, if there was nobody on that committee, or it was we worked as a city, did things as a group, I think that would be a good decision moving forward. So without discussing it too much, I don't want to get into discussion during a future agenda item. So really, to make it clear, I would like to reevaluate that decision.
Maybe kick that down to also, can we run that to the subcommittees we need to start having, and we can talk about this?
I think you're at a 2-2 on this one at this point, so it does not pass. It gets tabled or moves on to the next meeting at this point. So.
Yep.
I'm just asking for a discussion, and I think that would be only fair. And I think we need to reevaluate what we're doing with the water, and maybe some things need to remain secret, but some things should be able to be transparent for us.
So would an update from me on an agenda item be what you were looking for? Is that kind of it? Bring in a few people maybe?
No, I think, just because Brian has said at one point that he wasn't really working on the water that much, that was just you, and I just don't think that that's transparent. I think we need to reevaluate and have a discussion on the water next meeting and see who wants to reevaluate, who doesn't, how we can be more transparent about the water issue.
I'd have to disagree that he's not working on it. We probably meet 3 times a week. I meet with the city manager every week. I speak to Alex on several times a week, I'd have to say on this, emails every week. There's a lot that goes on that they know that is confidential information as well.
And I don't think it's all, I mean, I, again, don't want to get into a discussion during a future agenda item. I just want to make it clear I would like to reevaluate the decision that I believe was very unclear from the get-go.
Yeah, and I think, and again, a great point, it's not on the agenda tonight.
Yep.
To kind of keep having the discussion.
Move it to infrastructure subcommittee and we can discuss, is what we need to do.
Bring it back at another meeting when you have 3 to 2.
Yep. Let's do that. Let's right now bring it up to a subcommittee, set up a subcommittee to discuss it.
I don't know if this item can go to a subcommittee, right? If it was discussed in closed session.
I mean, again, whatever is discussed in closed session, there's confidentiality. I'm not saying what was discussed or what wasn't discussed. However, I just trying to get clear on the future agenda item without kind of discussing it so much. It does seem as though there was a recommendation to bring back to the council.
Correct.
A discussion,
up here on the dais.
A discussion here on the dais. That ended up, there's no consensus at that point. There was another future agenda item, a potential of bringing an update every meeting. At least, Mayor, you brought that up. I don't know if anybody supported that.
I mean, I think that kind of gets ahead of us, of what the first ask is to reevaluate a decision that was, I believe, unclear. Just want to reevaluate it amongst the council and also in public.
And I think that the original decision goes against the Brown Act because it's not transparent. What's ever going on with our water issue, we don't know about it, and the public doesn't know about it, and the Brown Act is important, and so I think we need to discuss following the Brown Act.
So again, not to get too much into the discussion, again, regarding the item, I think that there's also the possibility of bringing that item up again at future agenda items when you have a full council. It seems as though right now you're at a 2-2. I think your governance manual asks for a consensus, meaning 3 council members to kind of decide something come to a future agenda item. My recommendation is potentially bringing it back up when you have your full council here, since you're not getting a consensus for that specific item. There was a consensus, though, from what I heard regarding the homeless.
Yes.
The ad hoc, starting that back up. Yep. That did get support.
Yes.
So that would be my recommendation. I didn't hear support for the weekly update, or not the weekly, the meeting every
So bring up,
meeting.
we call the ad hoc, which we agree on, correct? You want to call the ad hoc?
Well, and I don't think we even needed to call, ask permission to call the ad hoc. We have an ad hoc committee, and I was just mentioning that we need to have a meeting. We have a lot of unsheltered people in town right now.
Perfect.
And I think we can help them by having a meeting.
I agree.
Yep. And then bring it when we have full council for the future agenda item of the Potter Valley and water, bring it to the future agenda with full council, which could be next meeting. Correct. There you go. Is that happy?
Well, yeah, we need a consensus. So if we do not have a consensus today, that would be the process.
Okay.
I have 2 items for future agenda. First one is I would love to see a water and sewer projects update so that we're all updated on everything going on. Do you have consensus for that? Anyone against it? Our water and sewer projects update. I would like to have one.
Support it.
Okay. And the second is our Recology contract. I'd really like to take a look at it and bring it back to us. Reason being is constituents are getting fines for their lids being open, and the fines show it open about yay much on a lot of them. And there's nothing in the contract that I can find that they're allowed to do this. And so I want to make sure that we have that conversation, because it's unacceptable if they're asking each person for $16 every time their can lid is open a little bit. That's not right, and that's not what we're doing here. So I want to make sure that we're doing what's right for our constituents.
So Vice Mayor, on that one, and this is going to go through our attorney as well. If this is a simple matter, as Vice Mayor is explaining, could that be something that could be handled directly through Recology?
if I may, through the mayor, directly, like, for example, staff going to Recology directly to discuss what's happening
Yeah, and
here?
that's kind of the question. If if you want to take that route, I do have our local representative. I can put you in contact with Ambrosia. I have her card here, and if we want to try that route, maybe we get it sorted out, and or is that something you would like a full presentation on?
I mean, I would be totally open to you working with the city manager and making that happen. That doesn't bother me. I just
Okay, we just want to get that.
I just really want to get it resolved for our constituents. Yeah. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Done and adjourned.